My name is Priscilla Rojas, and I'm the chair of the BPDA board. Thank you for joining the April 16th, 2026 Economic Development and Industrial Corporation of Boston board meeting. At this time, Boston Planning and Development Agency is hosting public meetings in a hybrid setting for the health, safety, and accessibility of Boston residents. Hybrid means that our board meetings are conducted in person at City Hall in our boardroom on the 9th floor and virtually via Zoom and Boston City TV. For more information and updates, please visit bostonplans.org. The Open Public Meeting Law requires that I notify the public that this meeting is being recorded. Please be aware that an audio and visual recording of this meeting is being made and broadcast by Boston City TV, which is a part of the City of Boston Office of Cable Communications at Xfinity Channel 26, RCN Channel 13, and Verizon Fios Channel 962. It is also being live streamed on boston.gov/cable. If there's anyone in the audience who's recording this meeting, I please ask that you identify yourself now. Okay, seeing none. All right, so we'll start the meeting with the roll call. Ms. Bennett. Present. Mr. Shepherd.
Present.
Mr. O'Malley.
Here.
And the chair is present. Item number 1, request authorization for the approval of the minutes of the March 19th, 2026 board meeting. A motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Item number 2, request authorization to amend the lease with Topologic Incorporated for Suite 805 located at 12 Channel Street to include Suite 703 in the lease premises until July 31st, 2027 with one 5-year term renewal option. Maureen.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Topologic is a manufacturing company using compact digital knitting machines to fabricate custom knitted clothing products. Topologic has been a tenant at 12 Channel Street in Suite 805 since August of 2022. The existing lease is scheduled to expire on July 31st, 2027. Topologic remains a tenant in good standing and is outgrowing Suite 805. Topologic has requested to add Suite 703 to their lease premise, so they have the use of 2 suites to accommodate staff and machinery. Additionally, Topologic has one 5-year option to extend the lease at fair market value. Topologic currently pays $8,052 per month for Suite 805 and will continue to do so through July 31st, 2027. Due to an immediate need for additional space, Topologic has entered into a 30-day license for Suite 703. The lease term for 703 will be coterminous with the term for 805 and shall expire on July 31st, 2027, and obviously have a 1-year option to extend the same at fair market value. At the commencement of the 30-day license, Topologic will pay $24 per square foot or $3,000 per month for Suite 703. Staff recommends that the director be authorized to amend the lease with Topologic to include 703 into the lease premises with Suite 805. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thanks, Maureen. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 3, request authorization to extend the tentative designation status of the Cronin Group LLC for the long-term lease and redevelopment of 24 Dry Dock Avenue within the Raymond L. Flynn Marine Park and to continue lease negotiations for the long-term lease and redevelopment of the site for a period of 6 months until October 31st, 2026. Dennis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The BPDA issued a request for proposals for the redevelopment of 24 Dry Dock in July of 2019. 24 Dry Dock is a vacant 30,000 square foot building located within the boundaries or the lease premises of the Boston Ship Repair Facility. It was a vacant building that was being unused by them. We established a unique partnership between BPDA and Boston Ship Repair. The RFP required that development for the new building be consistent with our Raymond L. Flynn Master Plan update and support maritime development as a condition of the award. Cronin Development was selected as a developer in January of 2020. Subsequently, Cronin purchased Boston Ship Repair Company and now controls the entire site as well as a company that we're all proud of. Cronin's initial proposal is to develop a 235,000 square foot life science building consisting on 6 floors with maritime space and a cafeteria on the first floor. BPDA and Cronin have agreed upon a business model whereupon Cronin will pay BPDA the market rate value for the land upon which the building sits to support the proposed reuse. The designation has been extended several times, the most recently in October 25, wherein the designation was extended through April 31st of this year. Market conditions remain very unfavorable for new life science development. Material and construction costs remain high. The cost of borrowing is still high. Overbuilding of speculative life buildings have resulted in several million square feet of completed buildings unoccupied. We have 2 buildings in the Raymond Elfland Marine Park, each over 300,000 square feet that were built for life science. They're completely empty at the moment except for the security guards. That will change. The developers are riding it out. They're paying their rent. They're waiting for the market to turn. So there's nothing to be alarmed about that from a landlord perspective. However, the competition for the tenants is quite staggering. But we should not disregard the efforts that Cronin has put forth so far to fulfill the terms of the tentative designation. BPDA issued a scoping determination for the project. Early utility and demolition package were approved by EDIC, allowing demolition to commence under the existing lease. Considerable progress has been made towards negotiating the final ground lease, and we're working diligently towards securing the, Cronin is working diligently towards securing the required financing in this challenging capital environment. BPDA staff will not be recommending final designation until final development plans are submitted and approved, the Article 80 process is completed, Chapter 91 determination from DEP plan has been updated, and the final lease is negotiated, and building permits are ready for issuance. One of the major benefits of tentative designation on all properties is it secures site control for the developer, wherein BPDA will not be negotiating with other users to allow the developer to do their due diligence and come to a final business deal with the BPDA. By virtue of owning the lease between BPDA and Boston Ship Repair, Cronin has literal site control for the duration of the lease, regardless of whether tentative designation is extended or not. With existing extension options, the lease is not expected to terminate before 2057. All of that notwithstanding, we are requesting a 6-month extension to the tentative designation through October of 2026. Retaining the tentative designation status will allow Cronin to move expeditiously in the event that an opportunity for build-to-suit opportunity arises. They are expanding their marketing efforts to oceanic users, academia, tough tech manufacturing, autonomous submarines, et cetera. Creative needs that are also consistent with the master plan and in a maritime required. No one can predict the future, and I'm not suggesting that the designation be extended indefinitely. There may be a future reason not to extend the designation. But sitting here today, I believe that it is in the best interest of BPDA and Cronin to extend the tentative designation through October 2026, for no other reason than to allow our tenant to be in the most competitive position possible for future success. There's really no downside to extending it.
Yeah. Okay. Great. That's it, right?
I'm done. Thank you. Sorry.
Any questions or comments from the board? All right, hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Item number 4, request authorization to enter into a contract with Casablanca Services Incorporated for landscaping services at the Raymond Elfland Marine Park for a period of 3 years commencing in the 2026 season with 2 one-year term renewal options and for a total contract amount not to exceed $500,000. Chris.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board, Madam Secretary, Director Shen. I'm here today to request authorization for the EDIC to enter into a contract with Casablanca Services Incorporated for landscaping and maintenance services within the Raymond Elfland Marine Park located at the South Boston waterfront. The selected contractor will be responsible for comprehensive landscaping services, including planting and routine maintenance, such as weeding, watering, mulching, pruning, and removal of dead vegetation, as well as trash removal from receptacles within the designated contract area. An invitation for bids was issued on March 2nd of this year, followed by a pre-bid conference on March 4th. 6 bids were received by the March 17th deadline. Casablanca Services Incorporated was determined to be the lowest responsible and responsive bidder. The resulting contract is not expected to exceed $300,000 for the initial 3-year term. This contract represents an ongoing operational expense to ensure the continued safety and cleanliness of the area for visitors and tenants within the marine park. I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Okay. Any questions or comments? All right, hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes.
Thank
Thank you. Okay, item number 5, request authorization to enter into 3 separate service contracts for real estate strategy consulting services with AECom, CARP Strategies, and Colliers on an as-needed basis in an amount not to exceed $450,000 per year for a period of 1 year with 2 one-year term renewal options. Stephanie.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. I'm here to request authorization to enter into 3 separate contracts for real estate strategy consulting services. Each of the 3 selected consultants will be issued a contract for 1 year for up to $150,000 per year with the option for 2 one-year extensions. Altogether, this totals to the $450,000 per year for up to 3 years, as mentioned. This request follows the November 2025 BPDA board vote authorizing the issuance of an RFP. The RFP issued on December 1st, 2025, with proposals due back on February 3rd, 2026. The RFP was advertised and solicited in accordance with Mass General Law, Section 30B. 15 teams submitted qualified proposals by the submission deadline, 11 of which included at least 1 MWBE and/or DBE prime or subconsultant. The evaluation committee was comprised of real estate, urban design, policy, and diversity, equity, and inclusion staff. The committee met 4 times in total to review all technical and fee proposals based on the criteria set forth in the RFP. And based on a thorough review of all submitted materials, the committee recommends the following 3 teams, all of which were determined to be highly advantageous. AECom as prime with Meridian Insights and JM Goldson as subconsultants. CARP Strategies as prime with U3 Advisors, UTL Architecture and Planning, and Greystone Real Estate Advisory Group as subconsultants. And Colliers Project Leaders as prime with Durham Consulting as subconsultant. Once under contract, consultants will be delegated on an as-needed basis through a work order process led by BPDA staff and resulting in a project-specific work or purchase order. Consultant work orders will fall into 6 categories: property-specific development scenario modeling, evaluation of lease amendment proposals, acquisition strategy analysis, policy or program development, real estate analysis for resilience improvements, and other as-needed advisory services. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from the board?
Yeah, I'm just curious. Obviously, you know, when we think of the prior docket, a landscaping contract, pretty easy to figure out. With something like this, you know, 150K per year, that's a high number, but probably in line with what of many of these others, and the value is there. So I'm not quibbling with that. Just curious, is the way it's structured that we pay just a monthly retainer? Is it billable hours? Does it depend on the vendor?
Yeah, great question. No, it's on individual work order basis. So city or BPDA staff would issue a description of the scope. So it would be an individual process. They may or may not use the full $150,000 on a given year. Based on the scope, they provide an estimate of the amount of time that they would be needing to complete that task, a timeline to do so, and then that would total to the work order total cost
So
for
it'll be the
that.
project, and so if it's
Exactly.
done in a month or 6 months, it'll be sort of dependent. Understood.
Exactly,
Okay,
yep.
thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 6, request authorization to transfer funds in the amount of up to $46,085,994 of the Economic Development and Industrial Corporation of Boston's operating budget expenses to the City of Boston to fund the Planning Department budget for fiscal year 2027, as well as the costs associated with certain other staff and services transferred to the city. Dylan.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Today, I'll be providing a brief financial overview of our current budget status, highlighting key variances and what they mean for the overall performance, and then I'll be requesting a vote authorizing the fiscal year 27 financial transfer to the city for the Planning Department expenses. Next slide, please. A high-level summary for revenue is that the overall revenue performance is strong and ahead of schedule, ahead of the budget projections this fiscal year. Getting into some of the specifics, rental and lease revenue is 3% lower than the budget. At the time the budget was developed, tenant revenues were projected based on active leases and expected renewals. Since then, we've had some changes in tenancy, specifically some tenants vacated and others renegotiated lease terms at different rental rates. We will include these changes in the FY27 budget to reflect the new projections and vacancies we see. Going down the list, grant revenue is ahead of the budget due to the timing that OWD receives their grants and also some unbudgeted grants that they've received. Two of these grants are $250,000 for the YOU Boston and $200,000 for the Boston Saves Financial Literacy Program. These were originally anticipated to be pass-through grants. These were originally anticipated to be directly paid instead of being pass-through grants. Parking revenues are slightly ahead of budget, which is great. That's a great trend for right now as we enter our busier months to end the fiscal year. Sale of real estate is ahead of schedule due to an annual net cash flow payment timing from the Asian Community Development Corporation. Equity participation is driven by the housing market and resales of properties. So far this year, these totals have been lower than projected and lower than the last couple of years as a whole. The last revenue category is the other income. This revenue is primarily driven from the agency's investments, and these investments continue to perform strongly. Takeaway here is despite some changes in lease projections, total revenue is still slightly above the total budget. Next slide, please. Moving on to the BPDA expenses, a quick summary here is that personnel, benefits, and certain operating costs are running above budget, creating an unfavorable variance of about $2 million. However, this is more than offset by approximately $2.7 million in savings from contractual services in the planning cabinet transfer, resulting in overall expenses coming in below budget. Personnel expenses are ahead of budget and creating a deficit. So this variance is driven by, due to accounting treatment and timing on the OWD side. Salary expenses are recorded as they are incurred, while reimbursement from the city is recognized as revenue, largely at year end, rather than netting against expenses. When working with the OWD budget team for FY26, we believe these expenses would be handled differently. Now that we know how the city is handling these reimbursements, we will reflect these changes in FY27 going forward. The increase in personnel expenses are also directly related to the increase in fringe benefits, which will also be offset during the year-end true-up process. Administrative services are ahead of budget due to a few IT expenses. Some of these were budgeted to be on the city cabinet side and actually hit the BPDA due to contracts and timing and renewal cycles. The main expenses here would be Adobe licenses and the HR evaluation software. The contractual service line is lower than budgeted due to the timing of projects starting up on the planning department side. This would include planning initiatives that remained on the BPDA budget. Outside legal services have been lower than usual, and also some engineering services within the real estate department that have yet to really kick off this fiscal year. The main driver for the expense budget is BPDA financial transfer for the planning cabinet expenses. These expenses are booked against actual spend, which has been below budget year to date. While this is just a snapshot of expenses through February, we have already paid the fourth quarter payment and will end the year around a $3 million deficit on the financial transfer. Property management expenses are ahead of budget due to two main drivers, insurance expenses increasing and snow removal. Both of these items will be adjusted for the FY27 budget to reflect actual costs and kind of projections going forward. Next slide, please. This slide is just a total view of the revenues and expenses. Despite some variance in lease revenues and personnel timing, we are a little over $1 million ahead of where we thought we would be through February. Next slide, please. The financial transfer is what the board will be voting on today. This will be the authorization to send up to the recommended budget amount of $46,090,000 for the planning department's FY27 budget. Overall, the FY27 recommended budget is essentially level funded compared to FY26, decreasing slightly by about $190,000. Within that, there are a few key shifts worth highlighting. Personnel costs are increasing by $570,000, primarily reflecting vacancies being filled and standard salary adjustments. More notably, employee benefits are increasing by approximately $1.4 million, driven by projected headcount and a 20% increase in healthcare costs. Offsetting those increases, we are seeing reductions in several areas aligned with budget guidance. Administrative services and contractual services are both decreasing, contractual services in particular by about $1.2 million, reflecting a scaling back of planned external spending. We also see a $1.5 million reduction in the pension liability based on an updated statement from PERAC, which helps offset the personnel-related increases. Additionally, there are a few structural changes including the introduction of the Planning Coordination Division transfer totaling $840,000 tied to the OBM agreement, and smaller adjustments to transfers such as MOH staffing and the OWD pilot transfer. While there are some increases, particularly in benefits, these are being largely offset by reductions in contractual spending and pension adjustments, resulting in a stable overall budget year over year. And that is all I have for you today, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Questions or comments from the board? Can you just leave the last slide up so we can see the, okay. Questions or comments from the board? I just have a couple questions. Can you go through with the planning coordination division transfer? I just don't recall the details of that, and I couldn't.
Yeah, so
find
when that division was created, it was the Planning Advisory Council, PAC. And we have moved the salaries associated with the PAC to the overall planning transfer. And just because of some of the expenses that go in there, they're not specifically to PAC. It's just kind of, it's the first division in the cabinet, so we renamed it to the Planning Coordination Division going forward.
Okay. Okay. And, I know that when we, can you just go over the OBM agreement? I know there's like a lot of different kind of requirements that we have to comply with. Can you just go over a little bit of that and kind of whether or not we've kind of satisfied all of those, requirements from us and then also from the city?
In like a financial, in regards to like the financial MOA or?
Yeah, the financial MOA, but I thought there was like, again, additional things that needed to happen. Or am I?
So I think, are you talking about the annual compliance with with city council?
No, I just thought there was something like specific when we made the transfer that there was going to be a.
Yes, so our staff, so the transfer happens every quarter, at the beginning of the quarter, and our budget staff works very closely with the city OBM staff to make sure that our numbers line up in terms of what the spending has looked like. So in the way that the agreement is set up, that for the first 2 quarters of the fiscal year, we just pay a quarter of what the annual number is. And then for the 3rd quarter, we meet and come to an agreement on what the 3rd quarter number will be based on the spending in the 1st and 2nd quarters. And then the same thing happens for the 4th quarter.
Okay. Yeah. No, I remember there was like,
Yep.
it's a big number to transfer over.
Yeah.
So I just want to kind of make sure that we've dotted all our I's and crossed the T's and stuff. So any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing and seeing none, motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, motion passes.
Thank you.
And that was the last item. So I need a motion to adjourn the EDIC meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Meeting adjourned. Okay. All right, we'll start the next portion of the agenda. Thank you for joining the April 16th, 2026 Boston Redevelopment Authority Board meeting. At this time, the Boston Planning and Development Agency is hosting public meetings in a hybrid setting for the health, safety, and accessibility of Boston residents. Hybrid means that our board meetings are conducted in person at City Hall in our boardroom on the 9th floor and virtually via Zoom and Boston City TV at the same time. For more information and updates, visit bostonplans.org. The Open Public Meeting Law requires that I notify the public that this meeting is being recorded. Please be aware that an audio and visual recording of this meeting is being made and broadcast by Boston City TV, which is a part of the City of Boston Office of Cable Communications at Xfinity Channel 26, RCN Channel 13, and Verizon Fios Channel 962. It's also being live streamed at boston.gov/cable. If there is anyone in the audience who is recording this meeting, I ask that you please identify yourself now. Okay, seeing none. And also please note that demonstrations of approval or disapproval from members of the public are not permitted during the meeting. Thank you. So we'll start this meeting with the roll call. Ms. Bennett? Present. Mr. Shepherd?
Present.
Mr. O'Malley?
Here.
And the chair is present. Item number 1, request authorization.
Madam Chair.
No, sorry. I'm so sorry. Before we get into the first item, we have Councilor Flynn on who would like to make some remarks. So Councilor Flynn, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair, and to the
members of the BPDA, thank you for giving me a few minutes to speak about 460 West Broadway. Madam Chair, I am speaking in support of this proposed project for an adaptive reuse of a former bank building. The project seeks to change the legal use occupancy to court and office space for the trial court, and include 5 garage parking spaces as well. South Boston needs to continue to have a court in the neighborhood. As a former probation officer, I know how invaluable a courthouse is, especially supporting people on probation that are getting critical recovery services at the courthouse with the probation team, with the trial court team. So it's a critical component to any neighborhood, and we desperately need a courthouse in South Boston. This is the right proposal. The BPDA team has done an excellent job of working with residents. There's been compromise, there's been a respectful back and forth, and just wanted to acknowledge Mark and Nick for conducting a very fair process. I support this project. Madam Chair, may I speak very briefly on number 3? Is that okay?
Please, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. This is basically a tentative designation status of the Cronin Group for long-term lease redevelopment of Dry Dock Avenue 24 within the Raymond L. Flynn Marine Park. I support the proposal to extend this designation. I also support number 4 as well on the agenda. Madam Chair, thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak on behalf of my constituents.
All right, thank you, Councilor Flynn. And thank you. And would you like to speak? Yes. Councilor Durkin, floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I'm speaking on Longwood Place Phase 1. Dear Chair Rojas and members of the board, as District 8 City Councilor representing the Longwood Medical Area, I'm offering my support for this project. This proposal reflects a long and extensive planning process under the PDA framework established prior to my time in office. And I want to acknowledge the proponents' continued collaboration with city agencies and key stakeholders in shaping this project. They have been in my office. We have talked about a lot. I want to highlight some of the things that we've worked on together. I also want to thank the depth of engagement from the Longwood Collective and the Windsor School specifically. Their continued participation alongside the proponent reflects the complexity of this site and the importance of ensuring that the transportation, safety, and access considerations are fully addressed in the area. These stakeholders have done a lot of work, and I want to thank them for the work that they've done. The Longwood Medical Area is one of the most active and complex mobility environments in the city, and any new development at this scale must be held to a high standard. I must acknowledge, too, that this is a critical lifeline for Simmons University, supporting its long-term institutional stability and advancing the success of its campus consolidation efforts. I want to acknowledge also the good-paying union jobs that are going to come out of this project. I was there for at least one of their topping off ceremonies, and understanding that this is part of a longstanding process and project that is going to offer a lot of economic vibrancy to the area. I also want to talk about the $7 million contribution to the parks and linkage commitments to affordable housing. As always, I strongly encourage the linkage and affordable housing funds to be directed to the areas most impacted by this development, particularly the nearby residential neighborhoods of Mission Hill and the Fenway. It is essential that these resources supplement rather than substitute existing services. In addition, I'd like to note that focus should be with stakeholders on the design and function of the multi-use path. There's been a lot of work on that, and I want to thank the planning department for their work with the Windsor School. With respect to some of the loading, service functions, parking, I'm not a transit expert. I know there's a lot of work that's gone into that. I do want to specifically shout out Tom Yardley and his work. I strongly support the project's housing component, including 227 new residential units, 20% which will be income restricted, in close proximities to a large employment center near jobs and transit. That's incredible, and I'm excited about that. I'm also encouraged by the evolution of the public realm improvements. I'm very supportive of the thoughtfully designed amenities within the open space, including the play area, the pollinator garden, and dog recreation area. These elements I've worked on and was consulted on in the time that I've been working on this project. I also want to underscore the importance of ensuring that the proposed community space, the forum, is truly accessible and functional to local groups. This space presents a meaningful opportunity for civic and arts organizations to gather, perform, and hold meetings in Longwood Medical area, where this type of community space is limited. I've been a catalyst for these conversations throughout the review process and pushed to ensure that the space is designed with community use in mind. While I appreciate the proponent's responsiveness to date, there is still important work ahead to make sure this space is successful. This includes consideration of accessibility, management, programming, as well as acoustics and design details that need to be carefully planned so the space can effectively support performance use and public use. Getting this right will be critical to ensuring that the forum can be a true community asset. These investments, along with approximately 9,000 square feet of community space, will support programming, cultural activity, and public use. We have to get this right. I want to highlight my strong support for the inclusion of reliable, free public Wi-Fi. This was my idea, and I'm really, really proud that the proponent took this on. As we know, digital equity is a huge component of what we do at the city, and we're getting less and less federal dollars to do this work. It is also important that we address the question of shadow impacts and broader urban policy as it relates to this project and future development in Longwood Medical Area. Given the scale and density of the proposed construction, careful analysis has happened, but that doesn't mean that there won't be a huge impact on this area. As the city continues to evaluate major projects under Article 80 and related project planning frameworks, it is important that shadow studies are not treated as technical exercises alone, but as a core component of understanding how development affects the experience and accessibility of shared spaces. It's clear to me that the community is there's a lot of feedback on the shadow. We've spent a lot of time in the planning process on shadow. I think that given how the project was approved and the PDA that we started with at my time in office, I'm in support of this today, but I do think it's important that we need to continue to have a conversation at the city around high-density institutional districts like the LMA, where public realm improvements, open space, and building massing decisions really need to be studied, and I know that work is happening at the city. There's also a conversation about wind, pedestrian level wind conditions, and the cumulative impact of large-scale projects over time. Ensuring that the open space remains usable throughout the day and across seasons should remain a guiding principle evaluating proposals of this scale and the next stages of the projects that will happen. Transportation and mobility improvements and connectivity have been a big focus. Given the scale and sensitivity of this location, continued refinement of design details may be needed. Finally, I want to acknowledge the extensive work that has gone into refining this proposal over many years, including meetings and effort the proponent has made with our office. The design team has met me for coffee. They've met me for lunch. They've met me in my office. They've done walks with me in the neighborhood. I think that work that they did to actually gather information and understand what the community cares about is reflected in the design today. And for these reasons, I offer my support for Phase 1 of the Longwood Place project, understanding that some of the community concerns will continue to be dealt with and continue to need to be responded to at the city level as well. And I just want to thank the project team for their work. This is never easy, but I think given that this project will provide a lifeline for Simmons University, important housing for the area, affordable housing, and parks mitigation, I am in support today. But that's not without continuing to listen to my constituents and understanding that project plans in the area require balance. So thank you so much for your time. I hope if you guys have seen the huge documents, you'll understand how long this was. I know Secretary Polhemus has told me to be shorter, so next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now we'll go to agenda item number 1, request authorization for the approval of the minutes of the March 19th, 2026 board meeting. A motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Item number 2, request authorization to schedule a public hearing pursuant to sections 3-1A, capital A and then small a, Article 50 and Article 80C of the zoning code on May 14th, 2026 at 5:30 PM or at such a time and date deemed appropriate by the director to consider the proposed Bartlett Lot C project as part of the Bartlett Place Plan Development Area number 94. It's just a scheduling, so a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call for, oh, no roll call. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Item number 3, request authorization to schedule a public hearing pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 121A and Chapter 652 of the Acts of 1960, to be held on May 14th, 2026 at 5:40 PM or at such a time and date deemed appropriate by the director, to consider the proposed 121A application filed by West End Library Preservation Associates LLP for authorization and approval of the project under Mass General Laws, Chapter 121A, and Acts of 1960, Chapter 652, as each as amended. So a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item number 4, request authorization to enter into a license agreement with Boston Sailing Center Incorporated for the use of a portion of the 50,998 square feet of water sheet at the end of Lewis Wharf for a period of 5 years, commencing May 1st, 2026, and ending April 30th, 2031. Samantha.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board, Madam Secretary, Director Shen. I'm here to request approval to enter a license with Boston Sailing Center for use of a portion of 50,998 square feet of water sheet at the end of Lewis Wharf. Founded in 1977, Boston Sailing Center has utilized BRA-owned water sheet since 1982. Boston Sailing Center conducts sailing courses, memberships, charters from their office and classrooms located in a Louisiana riverboat permanently docked at the end of Lewis Wharf parking lot. Over 400 students every year take part in classes available at all skill levels. Membership programs allow sailors access to one of 73 boats ranging in size from 23 to 40 feet. Although Boston Sailing Center utilizes over 40 moorings, only 5 are on the water sheet owned by the BRA. Staff recommend entering a revised license agreement with Boston Sailing Center for a 5-year term for the use and occupancy of a portion of 50,998 square feet of water sheet owned by the BRA at the end of Lewis Wharf for 5 moorings to be exclusively used by Boston Sailing Center. The license fee for the license shall be $15,500 yearly, commencing on May 1, 2026. The license fee is consistent with the market for moorings in the Boston Harbor. The annual rate shall increase by the higher of 3.5% or previous year's CPI for the duration of the term. BPDA staff recommends that the director be authorized to enter into a license agreement with Boston Sailing Center for the use and occupancy of a portion of 50,998 square feet of water sheet at the end of Lewis Wharf. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board? All right, hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, motion passes. Thank you. Item number 5, request authorization to extend the tentative designation status of Civico Development LLC for the long-term lease and redevelopment of 555 through 559 Columbia Road in the Upham's Corner area of the Dorchester neighborhood to create affordable housing and a branch library for the Boston Public Library for a period of 12 months until April 30th, 2027. Ben.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. 555-559 Columbia Road is at the heart of the Upham's Corner District in Dorchester. The site consists currently of a parking lot with 17 parking spaces and a 3-story masonry building built in 1915 for the Dorchester Trust Company. In April 2023, the BPDA board awarded tenant designation status to Civico for the redevelopment of this property after community recommendation. Civico has proposed a development that will be comprised of 33 all-affordable homeownership units. On the first, and in addition, on the first 2 floors, they will also build out a core and shell for a new branch of the Boston Public Library. Throughout the past tentative designation period, the developer has worked diligently towards final designation and has made progress towards starting construction. We are recommending this extension of tentative designation to allow them to complete more of this process, to work with the city to further their designs, apply for the remaining funds needed, continue ground negotiations with us, and start construction documents in preparation for competitive bidding. It is therefore recommended that the board authorize a 12-month extension for tentative designation. Thank you. I'm happy to answer questions.
All right, any questions or comments from the board? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, a motion passes. Thank you. Or just stay there, Brett.
Yeah.
Request authorization to extend the tentative designation status of Madison Trinity 2085 Development LLC as the developer of Parcel B, a portion of Parcel 10 in the Roxbury neighborhood for 6 months until October 31st, 2026. Ben.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Parcel 10 is located in Roxbury near Nubian Square, adjacent to Melnia Cass and Washington Street. Earlier completed phases of Parcel 10 included a redevelopment, which includes a grocery store and a mixed-use building, which is now complete. Parcel B is the last remaining portion of Parcel 10 to be redeveloped. The board originally voted to award Madison Tropical LLC tentative designation on May 15, 2012, and most recently extended the tentative designation for Parcel 10B, I'll call it, to Madison Trinity 2085 Development LLC in October 2025. The redeveloper is proposing to create a mixed-use residential building. Since the last extension, they have been in dispute with Tropical Foods regarding alleged impacts of the proposed project. Though in 2025, staff was notified of a potential buyer of Tropical Foods, and at the February 2026 board meeting, BPDA board meeting, the board approved certain actions to allow such a sale to happen, and staff is now waiting to hear about the status of that sale. During the next tentative designation period, the redeveloper seeks to engage further in mediation and resolution of the litigation matters with Tropical Foods. If this resolves, the redeveloper plans to advance the construction drawings, seek investors, and pursue and renew the funding sources that they've had, field general contractor bids, and negotiate a ground lease with the BPDA. It is therefore recommended that the board authorize I believe it's a 6-month extension, and happy to answer any questions.
All right. Questions or comments from the board? All right, hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, motion passes. Thank you. Item number 7, request authorization to extend the final designation status of Windale Developers Incorporated as redeveloper of 12 BPDA-owned parcels through the Neighborhood Homes Initiative at Hallworthy and Hollander Street in the Washington Park Urban Renewal Area, project number Mass R-24, located in the Roxbury neighborhood, and to execute all appropriate documents, including a deed and land disposition agreement for each site component by July 31st, 2026. Rebecca.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. This request concerns an extension of final designation of the Hallworthy Hollander disposition site in the Washington Park Urban Renewal Area in Roxbury, part of the Neighborhood Homes Initiative developed in collaboration with the Mayor's Office of Housing to promote homeownership opportunities in the Garrison Trotter community. The project proposed by Windale Developers includes 23 residential units across single-family homes, townhomes, and two-family homes, with 16 affordable homeownership units serving households at 80% to 100% AMI. Since the last extension, the development team has commenced closing calls with the construction lenders and has continued public right-of-way improvements on Harold Street. We expect that the team is well on their way to executing the deed and LDA for conveyance of the parcels. However, because this project involves due diligence on 12 separate parcels and 3 different lenders, I'm here to request a 3-month extension of their final designation through July 31st, 2026 to accommodate any delays resulting from coordinating these many moving parts during construction. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments from the board? Is 3 months going to be enough for that? We think so?
We believe so. So
Yeah.
the closing calls have commenced. I think previously we weren't sure the timing, so we feel confident about the 3 months.
Okay, cool. All right, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Item number 8, request authorization to extend the tentative designation status of Planning Office for Urban Affairs and the Roxbury Stonehouse to facilitate the redevelopment and sale of the BPDA-owned 7 through 9 Westminster Terrace property in the Washington Park Urban Renewal Area, project number Mass R-24 in the Roxbury neighborhood for a period of 6 months until October 31st, 2026. Rebecca.
Thank you. I'm here to request a 6-month extension to the tentative designation of Planning Office of Urban Affairs, PUA, and Roxbury Stonehouse for redevelopment of 7 to 9 Westminster Terrace, which consists of 5,761 square feet of vacant land owned by the BPDA in the Roxbury neighborhood. PUA and RSH's proposal seeks to create 13 supportive housing units and emergency shelter comprised of 11 studios and 2 two-bedroom units. Since receiving their tentative designation status in October of 2023, the team received 4 6-month extensions, with the latest in October 2025. Since their last extension, they have submitted full applications to EOHLC, Supportive Housing Funding and Foundation Grant, received Federal Home Loan Bank Award, and continued advancing construction drawings review with BPDA staff. During this extension period, POA and RSH aim to submit for a building permit, assemble financing, and negotiate the terms of the deed and LDA. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? I'm really excited for this one, so, best of luck. But a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Last one, Rebecca.
Great.
Item number 9, request authorization to extend the final designation status to Nuba LLC as developer of a portion of the parcel 8 located at Harrison Avenue and Washington Street in the Nubian Square area of Roxbury neighborhood for a period of 3 months until July 31st, 2026, and to execute a deed and land disposition agreement. Rebecca.
Thank you. Parcel 8 consists of 2 contiguous parcels, one currently owned by the state and one owned by the city. The request for proposals was issued on February 26, 2020, and the BPDA board voted to award Nuba LLC, a joint venture between Urbanica and NHP Foundation, tentative designation on April 15, 2021. The proposal includes 2 buildings of approximately 110,000 gross square feet, which will include 109 all-affordable units, consisting of 48 homeownership units and 64 rental units. The project includes ground floor commercial space and the creation of a public park at the corner of Melnia Cass Boulevard and Washington Street. Following significant progress on the project, the BPDA board awarded final designation on October 16, 2026. At this time, staff recommend a 3-month extension to Nuba LLC's final designation status. Following this vote, Nuba LLC anticipates the construction closing process for conveyance and land of the BPDA and will commence construction over the next few months. So again, the June timeframe. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
And we present in 2025, right? October 2025?
Yes,
Yeah,
sorry,
okay.
I got that day wrong.
Like, the year's going by so fast.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Item number 10, request authorization to enter into 3 separate service contracts for real estate strategy consulting services with AECOM, CARP Strategies, and Colliers on an as-needed basis in the amount not to exceed $450,000 per year for a period of 1 year with 2 one-year renewal options. Stephanie.
Thank you again. This is the same request to issue contracts as noted in the EDIC board item. I'm happy to repeat or answer any questions.
We'll just go with questions. Any questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Thank you. Item number 11, request authorization to enter into a second amended and restated land disposition agreement related to parcel L-33 located at 85 Monroe Street in the Roxbury neighborhood, Washington Park Urban Renewal Area, project number Mass R-24, to effectuate the preservation of affordable residential rental units and to issue a certificate of completion to effectuate the sale of parcel L-33. Ruben.
Good afternoon, Chair Rojas, Secretary Polimas, members of the board, Chief Shen. Before you is an item requesting your authorization to adopt a minor modification to the Washington Park Urban Renewal Plan and enter into an amended land disposition agreement to enable the redevelopment of Washington Park Urban Renewal Parcel L-19. Parcel L19 is located in 13 Homestead Street in the Roxbury neighborhood of Boston. It comprises about 4,000 square feet of restricted open space.
Sorry, 1 second.
Yep.
You,
Oh, sorry, am
this
I on
says
the wrong one?
L33.
Pardon me?
This says L33, and you said L19.
Am I on the wrong one?
Oh, sorry, okay.
L33.
Okay, okay.
I skipped to the next one. I'll do,
Okay.
oh,
It's
sorry.
like-
I had them out of order. My apologies.
Okay.
4,000 square feet of restricted open space, which has been fenced in and associated with the neighboring property at 15 Homestead Street. Recently, a proponent purchased 13 Homestead Street and proposed removing the open space restriction to construct a two-family dwelling on the lot. To remove the restriction, a minor modification to the urban renewal plan and an amended land disposition agreement is needed. Staff reviewed their proposed plans, consulting design, legal, and real estate staff to ensure that they fit the neighborhood's character and met relevant planning and design guidelines. Staff determined that a residential development is appropriate for this parcel and that the plans would complement the existing housing stock in the area. A public meeting was held regarding the project on Thursday, April 9th, and attendees from the community were supportive. Additionally, in accordance with established planning department policy involving regulatory relief on previously deed-restricted open space land, an analysis of the fair market value of the unrestricted land has been conducted and an incremental value payment will be applied to the transaction. The details of the incremental value payment are included in the board memo before you. Staff recommends that board authorize this minor modification to the Washington Park Urban Renewal Plan and authorizes an amended land disposition agreement related to this parcel. Thank you. Sorry, I'm subbing in for Max, so I apologize for the.
I was like, you usually don't do these, but yeah. Okay, any questions or comments from the board? All right, hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Item number 12, request authorization to adopt a minor modification to the Washington Park Urban Renewal Plan, parcel L19, Mass R-24, located at 13 Homestead Street.
That's the one we just passed.
What?
Sorry. Reread the first one. I read them out of order. So we just approved item 12.
Got it.
So
we
now we're
did the
doing item
thing.
11.
Now we'll write the L.
Sorry.
Okay, yeah. Are we all good on the record situation?
Did you read item
read-
12, or did you read item 11?
I read item 11.
She read item 11, and then
Yeah, so we have to,
what would you like me to do?
Right.
so,
Okay,
so we need to start over with 11.
yes.
He presented 12, so I would recommend reading 12.
Reading 12, taking a vote on
Oh,
12.
and then going back to 11?
And then going to
Okay.
11. Yeah,
Present 11.
okay.
But make sure you read 12.
Yeah,
before
yeah,
you-
yeah. Let's read it. Request authorization, item number 12, request authorization to adopt a minor modification to the Washington Park Urban Renewal Plan, parcel L-19, Mass R-24, located at 13 Homestead Street in the Roxbury neighborhood and permitting its use as residential, and to enter into an amended and restated land disposition agreement with the redeveloper. So just to repeat, this was what Ruben just presented. So, okay, so
That was 13 Homestead.
anything else to add?
I do not have anything else to add.
Questions or comments from the board? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. So now I'm going to read 11.
85 Monroe, yeah.
Okay. Request authorization to enter into a second amended and restated land disposition agreement related to parcel L-33 located at 85 Monroe Street in the Roxbury neighborhood, Washington Park Urban Renewal Area, project number Mass R-24, to effectuate the preservation of affordable residential rental units and to issue a certificate of completion to effectuate the sale of parcel L-33.
All right, we're going to do L33 now.
Yeah.
Hello again. Before you is an item requesting authorization to enter into a new land disposition agreement and issue a certificate of completion for the improvements located at 85 Monroe Street in Roxbury, also known as parcel L33 in the Washington Park Urban Renewal Plan area. Parcel L33 consists of about 7,900 square feet of land containing a 4-story residential building. The existing LDA for this parcel covenanted that the redeveloper would condoize the residential units and sell them for predetermined rates. However, when a buyer interested in purchasing the building reached out to our team several months ago, staff determined that the improvements covenanted in the original LDA were never completed. Specifically, the units were never made condos and were being rented rather than sold. This nonconformity has created a cloud on the building title that will prevent it from being sold, an outcome which would endanger the stability of the building's current residents as the current owner faces an impending foreclosure. Staff from the Planning Department's policy, legal, and real estate teams engaged in an extensive negotiation with both buyer and seller attorneys for the proposed transaction and have agreed to issue a new land disposition agreement for the building, covenanting that the new owner of the building will maintain the building as affordable rentals, and also agreed to issue a certificate of completion to enable the sale of the property under the terms of the new land disposition agreement. It is the staff's recommendation to approve the item before you to enter into a new LDA and issue a certificate of completion in connection with the improvements located at the site. Thank you, and I'll try to answer your questions.
Okay. All right, questions or comments from the board? I do have a question, though. So essentially so they were out of compliance with the LDA. How did that happen? I guess, kind of like, can we talk about how that fell through and just like what we have in place now and processes to make sure that doesn't happen?
I think that's a deeper question. And we don't
Yeah.
we have 863 or something LDAs, and so, there is an element, and maybe Mallory, you have more information on this than I do on sort of how we deal with compliance-related matters, so that might be more appropriate.
Yeah.
Hi, Mallory Shea. I'm Deputy General Counsel. I would say probably the biggest issue was we expected, I think, and this is going back like 25 years, that they would convert the property to condos. And so through the conversion process, which is typically something at ISD, recording of condo docs, we would be in lockstep and follow compliance that way. Because that was never done, and this is 4 units, it's really not a small project or a large project. It's not something that we regularly maintain compliance short of this type of LDA. It's really not something that there were the checkpoints where we stay hand in hand with a developer.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. I just know we went through a big process with the LDAs to find them all and do all that stuff. So I appreciate that explanation and just to, understand how this one's a little bit unique. So, all right. Any additional questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Thank you. Item number 13. Request authorization to adopt the Enterprise Research Campus District and Greenway Plan as a planning framework to guide future zoning, development review, and public realm improvements within the ERC area in Alston. Matthew and Caitlin.
Thank you, and good evening, Chairwoman Rojas, members of the board, Director Shen, and Secretary Polimas. My name is Matthew Hussman. I'm a Planner 2 on the Comprehensive Planning team, and this is my first board presentation with you all, so I'm excited to be here and to provide you an overview of the Harvard ERC Campus District and Greenway Plan, or further referred to as the ERC Plan. Next slide, please. This plan has emerged from Harvard's ERC Phase A PDA Master Plan Mitigation, which established a $2 million commitment for Harvard Alston planning initiatives, including tonight's ERC District Greenway Plan, as well as Beacon Park Yards and the Alston-Brighton Community Plan and formally adopted Alston-Brighton Needs Assessment. The ERC plan in front of you defines the goals, vision, and physical structure for the remainder of the district, guiding a future development and strengthening connections to Alston and Brighton. Next slide, please. It's important to clarify what the plan is and what the plan is not. This plan sets a long-term vision for the district and creates a framework for a future PDA master plan. It will guide future zoning and development review, shaped by the feedback we've heard from the community and a shared vision for the site. Next slide, please. At a high level, the vision for the district is to create a vibrant mixed-use employment district centered around a resilient greenway, stronger connections between Harvard's campus areas and surrounding Alston-Brighton community. The framework is organized around 4 pillars: land use and development, urban design and scale, mobility and access, and open space and public realm. Together, these pillars provide a balanced roadmap for how the district can grow over time. Next slide, please. As with many major planning efforts, the district is shaped by a number of real-world constraints. These include infrastructure limitations, phasing considerations, and more specifically, broader regional transportation projects that affect timing and development potential. Specifically, these constraints include the long-term lease for the National Resilience Parcel, the MWRA sewer line that runs through the middle of the site, the Alston Multimodal Transportation Project, and other infrastructure and phasing considerations across the area. Together, these factors have helped us shape how the district is laid out, how streets and open spaces are organized, and how the overall structure of the site comes together. Next slide, please. Diving a little more into the Alston Multimodal Transportation Plan, this is a state-led effort including the replacement of the aging aqueduct and reconfiguration of critical transportation corridors, including Western Massachusetts, Worcester, and Boston. Because parts of the ERC site depend on the completion of the AMP infrastructure, the plan must remain flexible as conditions can change over time. As shown on the map, the red dotted line marks the existing portion of the I-90 that cannot be developed until it is removed. Next slide. The plan illustrates the scale of opportunity within the rest of the campus. It contemplates approximately 4 to 6 million square feet of future development potential while ensuring that 20% of the area remains publicly accessible, open space, and importantly, a half-mile greenway would serve as the organizing spine of the district. The land use framework is intentional, balanced, and flexible, with 1/3 of the district's gross square footage dedicated to residential uses, 1/3 to commercial uses, and one remaining third reserved for flexible use that can be adapted to future market conditions and evolving district needs. Next slide. The land use plan for the vision, the land use plan builds on the vision for a mixed-use district while adding more housing and neighborhood-serving uses. Housing is placed along Stadium Road to better transition to neighborhoods nearby. Larger and more active uses are focused in the center of the district with balanced mix of uses planned across the site to support long-term growth. Next slide. The urban design approach creates a district that feels connected, walkable, and welcoming. Taller buildings are placed in the center with lower buildings near neighborhood edges. Active ground floors, connected streets, and thoughtful building placement help to create a lively public space. Next slide. The transportation portion focuses on making it safer and easier to walk, bike, and use transit across the district. Each street has a clear role. Stadium Road connects the district to nearby neighborhoods and supports walking, biking, and local traffic. Trotter Avenue is the primary north-south spine. Cambridge Street remains the main regional connection, and Milestone Street is dedicated to loading and service access. Next slide. Open space is one of the defining features of this plan and one of the most important to the community. 20% of the district will be publicly accessible open space anchored by the Greenway. The open space network includes active recreation areas, flexible gathering spaces, quieter passive areas, and strong connections to the Charles River, Western Avenue, and Cambridge Street. Next slide. It's also important to note that this is not the first plan for the district. Harvard completed a framework plan in 2021. Since then, the plan has been updated to reflect more community feedback. It moves from a primary research-focused approach to more balanced mix with housing and advances the Greenway into a clearer, better connected open space network, including at Stadium Road and Trotting Avenue. Next slide. The updated plan also places greater emphasis on multimodal access, local connectivity, and the long-term implications of the future I-90 ramp removal. Rather than prescribing fixed engineering solutions today, the framework really establishes high-level concepts that can be refined in future development phases. Next slide. And throughout this presentation, you've heard me talk a lot about flexibility. Because this district will be built over many years, it's important that we plan that the plan can respond when individual projects and phases come forward. Each future project may happen at a different time or under different conditions. The plan provides a clear framework so many new development can move forward in a way that fits the overall vision of the district. Next slide. Through public meetings, advisory groups, focus groups, surveys, and site events, we've heard clear and consistent feedback. The community wants safe connections, open space, active spaces during construction, and clearer communication about timing and next steps. Overall, the feedback has been very positive, with strong support in the direction of the plan and helpful ideas to make the district even better over time. Next slide. One of the clearest messages we've heard is the long-term vision alone is not enough. The community really cares deeply about the district and how it feels during build-out. Because development will occur over many years, with Phase A almost complete, interim conditions do matter. Our goal is to ensure that the district is usable, connected, and active from day one, even as future phases continue. Next slide. The plan recommends keeping walking and biking routes safe, open during construction. Detours should be kept to a minimum. Signage, lighting, and screening can make the area easier to navigate and more welcoming. Next slide. The plan also recommends activating parking lots, open areas during early phases, so completed parts of the district don't feel cut off or like an island. Temporary seating, landscaping, recreation events, and community planning can help bring energy to the spaces before full build out. Next slide. So the real question is, how do we turn this plan into this plan's vision into a reality? The next major step after the framework is adopting a future plan development area or PDA master plan. The process would translate this plan into more detailed zoning, building form, design guidelines, infrastructure, and phasing processes. After that, the individual projects would still go through their own process, including design review, Article 80 where applicable, and additional public engagement. Next slide. And with that being said, we'd also like to thank the advisory group, the community, our local electeds, including Council President Liz Breeden, who issued a letter in support of the plan this afternoon.
Okay, great. Well, great first presentation, first of all. Welcome. Questions or comments from the board?
I have one. Just in terms of the flexible uses, is there a list of eligible uses, or does that come with the zoning overlay, or?
So it would be commercial, residential, it could be innovative lab, really a myriad of things.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair, I'd just like to thank you for your presentation, and I'd like to thank everyone from Harvard for everything you've done with the community, the Alston-Brighton residents, to come to good terms as far as the green space comes, and continue talking to the residents about continued future work going on. And with that being said, the ERC project, phase 1, phase 2, that will lead to infrastructure that will lead to plenty of jobs, thousands of jobs for thousands of workers in the Boston area, and also millions of hours of work that help also contribute to small businesses in the community. So thank you.
Additional questions or comments? Do you just want to say I too am, was really excited and this was a really interesting plan to review. I really like that it has that it's both flexible but very specific in the things that matter, I think, at this phase. I also liked the slide there that said what it does and what it does not do. That was really helpful in our review and maintaining clarity of what this does actually do. And then the final comment, I really liked the interim conditions portion of consideration within this plan. So I just want to applaud the community and the agency for introducing that here. And I think it serves as a really good best practice, I think, in how we address the plans and the concerns of the community of, really defining what those interim conditions look like, right? Because that's the impact that they're going to feel the most. So I really appreciate that. I hope to see that in the future going further. But those were all my comments. So if there are no other questions or comments, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Okay. Item number 14, request authorization to issue a preliminary adequacy determination waiving further review pursuant to Article 80B Large Project Review of the Zoning Code in connection with the draft project impact report filed by New England Development on February 9th, 2026 for the proposed 201 Rutherford Avenue project, and to adopt a minor modification to the Charlestown Urban Renewal Plan permitting the uses as residential, commercial, institutional, and parking, and to issue a certificate of compliance under Section 80B-6 of the zoning code upon successful completion of the Article 80 review process, and to enter into an affordable rental housing agreement, a cooperation agreement, and a land disposition agreement in connection with the proposed project, and to take all related actions. Sarah?
Great. Thank you and good afternoon, Chair Rojas, members of the board, Director Shen, and Secretary Paulimus. My name is Sarah Peck, and I'm a Development Portfolio Manager in the Development Review Division. We are here before you this evening to discuss the proposed 201 Rutherford Avenue project. The project site is located on the westernmost portion of the larger Bunker Hill Mall site, bounded by Rutherford Avenue, Austin Street, and West School Street in the Charlestown neighborhood of Boston. The project includes the construction of a 197,000 square foot zoning compliant 6-story residential building, with approximately 240 dwelling units and residential amenities, together with structured parking, bicycle storage, and related site and public realm improvements. On July 31st, 2020, the proponent filed a letter of intent with the Planning Department. An impact advisory group was formed to assist the Planning Department with the Article 80 review of the project. A project notification form was then filed for the project on January 15th, 2021, which initiated a public comment period concluding on May 4th, 2021. The Planning Department hosted IAG meetings on February 22nd, 2021, and April 28th, 2021, and a public meeting on March 10th, 2021, in connection with that PNF filing. These meetings were held virtually on Zoom and advertised in the local neighborhood newspapers, posted to the Planning Department's calendar, and email notification was sent to all subscribers of the Planning Department's Charlestown neighborhood updates. The Planning Department then issued a scoping determination on September 10th, 2021, in response to the PNF filing. A draft project impact report for the project was filed on February 9th, 2026, which initiated a public comment period concluding on March 16th, 2026. The Planning Department hosted an IAG meeting on February 23rd and a public meeting on March 2nd in connection with that supplemental filing. These meetings were held virtually on Zoom, posted to the Planning Department's calendar, and email notification was sent to all subscribers of the Planning Department's Charlestown neighborhood updates. At this point, I would like to hand it off to my colleague, Chris Maskas, to present the planning context for the project, followed by a presentation from the development team. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Next slide, please. Next slide, please. All right. Thank you, Sarah, and good evening, Chair Rojas, members of the board, Director Shen, and Secretary Paulimus. My name is Chris Maskas, a Planner 1 on the zoning reform team. 201 Rutherford Avenue is located in the westernmost part of the Bunker Hill Mall site, adjacent to Rutherford Avenue and currently occupied by the 99 restaurant. This site sits within the mixed-use 5, MU5, zoning subdistrict of the Charlestown Neighborhood Zoning District, which was codified in response to Plan Charlestown's recommendations in November 2023. Through the Plan Charlestown process, this parcel was identified as a prime opportunity for mixed-use development. It's a key gateway location sitting within 1,500 feet of the MBTA's Community College Orange Line station and serving as an entrance into the residential core of Charlestown, identified on this slide as the original peninsula. The project's location immediately east of Rutherford Avenue falls to the far right of the stepped height scheme shown on this slide. This was done intentionally to create a transitional zone between the high-growth area between I-93 and Rutherford Avenue and the residential fabric of the original peninsula. Next slide, please. Since Plan Charlestown identified this as a major redevelopment opportunity, the parcel was upzoned to reflect a significantly denser mixed-use form. It is important to emphasize that this proposal is fully zoning and dimensionally compliant with all requirements of the MU5 subdistrict. The project proposes exactly 70 feet of building height and creates a 1.0 FAR across the mall site, well within the 2.0 limit for the subdistrict. The project also maintains a 10-foot front setback, which is greatly increased at the corners of the lot along Rutherford Avenue. It also maintains an average 10.8-foot setback along the non-parallel lot lines along Austin Street and West School Street, while also providing 20% permeable lot area and 46.3% lot coverage across the entire Bunker Hill Mall site. Beyond compliance, the project takes advantage of the increased front setbacks at its corner to provide a public gateway corner at the intersection of Rutherford Ave and Austin Street. This landscaped open space is designed to serve residents and visitors alike, welcoming them into Charlestown. At this point, I would like to hand the presentation over to the development team. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Rojas, members of the board, Secretary Polimis, and Director Shen. My name is Risa Myers. I'm a senior project manager with New England Development, the proponent for the 201 Rutherford project. Joining me is Brian Rossler with Alkis Manfredi Architects. Brian will walk you through the architectural and urban design aspects of the project. Before he comes up, I will start with a brief overview and some background on the project. New England Development has owned and operated Bunker Hill Mall, where the project is located, for 50 years. The goal of the project is to introduce much-needed housing, including 20% income-restricted units, to this transit and amenity-rich location by redeveloping an underutilized portion of the mall, while continuing to support and operate the existing retail center, including the grocery store, pharmacy, and other neighborhood-serving uses. The project notification form for the project was filed in 2021 before Plan Charlestown gained momentum. In recognition of that planning and community process, our team paused and waited for the adoption of the new zoning that resulted from the plan, which took effect at the end of 2023. We then resumed work on the project and filed the DPIR earlier this year. The proposed project is fully consistent with the updated zoning, including all use and dimensional requirements. You can stay on this slide. Thank you. On this slide, the Bunker Hill Mall is outlined in dashed orange, with the project site located along its western edge, adjacent to Rutherford Avenue, where the Gilmore Bridge connects to Cambridge. The proposed residential building benefits from strong multimodal access. It is a short walk to the Orange Line and 92 bus, providing direct connections to downtown. The project is also close to major employment hubs, including Hood Park, Cambridge Crossing, and Kendall Square, all within a short bike ride or walk. Next slide, please. Zooming in to the neighborhood scale, you can see the project site more clearly along Rutherford Avenue, the Rutherford Avenue edge of the Bunker Hill Mall. The project will replace the existing 99 restaurant. The eastern edge of the site is defined by the mall entry, which functions today as a parking lot drive aisle. As part of the project, this will be reconfigured into a new accessway designed to complete street standards with sidewalks and new shade trees, an element Brian will speak to in more detail. The remainder of the mall will be preserved. Existing tenants include a Whole Foods, grocery store, CVS Pharmacy, post office, and Ace Hardware, among others. The project site is adjacent to the O'Neill Memorial Rink and Gatehouse 75, a multifamily residential building, which both help frame the existing scale and context along Rutherford Avenue. The views here highlight an underutilized site and a well-connected, walkable location with direct access to transit and neighborhood amenities. With that overview, I'll turn it over to Brian, who will walk you through the proposed plans in more detail. Thank you.
Thank you, Risa. And good afternoon. I'm Brian Ressler from Alkis Manfredi Architects. If we can go to the next slide. I'll briefly reorient you. We're now looking at a traditional plan. We'll call Project North up. And if you would please look towards the left side, the western end of the Bunker Hill Mall site, that is where 201 Rutherford is proposed. It is bound by the northern roadway, which is West School Street, southern roadway, which is Austin. To the left, west, is the pedestrian bridge, which crosses Rutherford Avenue. And to the east, you see two actual driveways. The easternmost access way is the eastern boundary of the site that is being developed. If we want to go to the next plan. Now you can see 201 in context. So it is a 240-unit, 6-story, 70-foot tall building. It is a courtyard configuration. The parking on the site for the residents and the loading for the residents is fully internal, and it's capped by the courtyard itself. So there will be no cars visible to the public and no loading visible to the public. It's set back, as we heard, to allow for additional public realm improvements, which we can look at next. So I'll walk you around the site. There are 5 major points that we want to talk about today. You've already heard about one of them. The first image on the left, lower left corner, the first public realm improvement is what we call the Gateway Corner. This is a welcome mat for the community and for visitors to the community. We'll show you an image of what that might look like a little bit later, but know that it is 2,000 square feet of public amenity space. Moving to number 2 on the list, this is improvements along Austin Street. And what you will find is that the project is proposing to incorporate additional street trees, shade trees along Austin, an expanded sidewalk, a landscape area that fronts on the amenity spaces for the residents. Those are shown in purple. Those amenities might be fitness, they might be mailroom, and to the right, you'll find the lobby. We'll go to item number 3. That is the improved access way, that formerly the East Access Way, that's shared with the mall. It is being upgraded, improved to meet Boston's, I'm stumbling a little bit, I'm sorry. Boston's complete street standards, which means street trees again on both sides, sidewalks, landscape, and in this case, 4 short-term parking spaces, which will support drop-off and pickup for the residents who enter on the corner, around the corner off of the improved access way. As you move to the middle of the plan, you will find the parking and loading, which is accessed off of that improved access way. To the north of the plan, top of the plan, we are introducing walk-up units. This is a tree-lined residential street. We think this is consistent with that streetscape. So they will each have an address. They will each have a front lawn, fenced. What you see in sort of larger circles, you see 4 existing trees which will be maintained and protected. On Rutherford Avenue, the project proposes to install a green strip to separate the traffic from the traffic and to improve the landscape around the pedestrian landing, which includes landscape around and beneath it. If we want to go to the next slide, I'll share with you a few views. So you've just come across Cambridge on the Gilmore Avenue Bridge, and you are looking towards Charlestown. You can see the Bunker Hill Monument in the distance. The project is primarily a brick building, 2 bricks, with an attic story that is a change of material. We do that to scale the building and allow it to fit in with its community. We are using 2 bricks, a rich red brick that comes out of the community. You see that on Austin Street, and you also see it in the recesses of the second brick, which is a weathered, we call it a rose brick. You also see that the window pattern and windows are patterned to add visual interest, and you will note that there is a series of balconies on the corner to provide more open space to the tenants. If we want to go to the next slide, please. Four views. Each of the facades of the building respond to their context in some way. The upper left image is Austin Street. You see the red brick. I will draw your attention to the ground floor. These are the amenity spaces for the units, for the residents. You will see that there is additional glazing here to allow more light and view into those spaces. The second view on the upper right, is looking across the mall towards Charlestown and views to the monument. We've not only added balconies to the corners, but also in the middle of the building to take advantage of those views. The third image in the lower left is on West School. You'll see our neighbor Gatehouse 75, and you will see the existing trees that are remaining. And just underneath their canopy, you will see the walk-ups, which are in view 4. You can see the walk-up stoops, the fenced green areas, gas lamps, and those mature trees. Next slide, please. This is a view of the entry. On your left is Austin. So you see the new shade trees, the expanded sidewalk, the landscape that runs along the amenity spaces. As you turn the corner, you come to a vestibule, which is glazed and with additional stone details, and a canopy overhead. You see the improved access way with its trees and landscape and sidewalks, and you see the 4 parking spaces that are for pickup and drop-off. We can go to the next slide. This is the last one. We'll go back to the Gateway Corner. We propose to install a berm up against the landing of the ramp itself, heavily landscape it. We use that berm as a backdrop for the tiered seating. There may be some signage, some lighting, some layered landscape. We want to make this a place where the community can come and pause before they go home or go to the tea. And then, of course, on the right side is Austin Street again with its trees and its sidewalk and landscape. And with that, I will turn it back to Risa, please.
We look forward to answering. You can go to the next slide, please. Any questions from the board, but I wanted to close by highlighting a few key benefits of this project. First, this project delivers much-needed housing in a zoning compliant format with a design that complements its neighborhood surroundings. We're setting aside 20% of the proposed units as income-restricted housing, more than what's required. As Brian mentioned, the project includes several meaningful public realm improvements. I want to highlight two in particular: the new public gateway corner plaza and the addition of 25 shade trees. I also want to highlight our sustainability commitments. The project will comply with net zero carbon zoning, meaning it's designed to operate at net zero carbon from day one. It's also being designed to Passive House standards and will be LEED Gold certifiable. The project will generate significant economic benefits, including approximately 285 construction jobs, 10 permanent jobs, and increased tax revenue for the city. We're also taking on important infrastructure improvements, including relining a section of an aging regional MWRA sewer tunnel that runs through the site. And lastly, I want to reiterate our long-term commitment to this location and our intention to continue operating the retail center as a core use serving the community. Looking ahead, we anticipate a future planning process for the remainder of the mall, one that retains essential services like the grocery store and pharmacy, while exploring opportunities to reorient retail towards Main Street and create additional public open space. Thank you. We're happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments from the board?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Any solar arrays on the roof?
The building is designed to be PV ready.
Yeah.
And to get to net zero carbon day one, we'll explore both the option of PV and the purchasing of eligible renewable energy.
Of Mass Class 1 recs?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And just so folks know, I appreciate that it has to be PV ready. So
Yes, it is,
I'm
yeah.
going to ask every developer and folks who are here, that's the baseline. So for going forward, I think there's a great opportunity. It's a very high building. I appreciate the trees, but there's not a tree canopy that could impact it. So I think it's a good location. I know this area well. I've been around long enough. I would go to Johnny's Food Master and the Friendlies when they were in the mall. It's obviously a big change for the community. It's huge. It's a big project. I think there's a lot of good. Really appreciate the 20% income restricted units. I'm going to support this. I would just urge you to continue to work with the community. We've heard from a lot of residents who are concerned. This is the front door to Charlestown and for many folks, including myself, coming from the southwest part of the city. I think it's nice you have the gateway corner. I don't think there's going to be a scenario where folks are going to be hanging out on the corner necessarily, so just work with them in terms of the signage, in terms of the what it looks like, just welcoming, and just so I'd urge you to continue to work with the neighborhoods, work with the local electeds, because it is going to be a big change. Again, I'm going to support it and think a good project can be made all the better, even particularly by working with voices who maybe haven't been as excited about this project in the past as you go forward. So good luck.
Appreciate it. Thank you. We agree.
And yes, through the chair, I also agree. This is a big project in a very historic neighborhood. My question would be, as far as construction goes, have you been talking to any general contractors during this process, or working with any of them at the moment, or?
We're still in early planning stages. We have not selected a GC yet for this project.
And like you said, being the gateway of the area, we would love to see a responsible general contractor that works with the city and state for the apprenticeship program, because we would love young men and women to have the opportunity to work on such a beautiful project. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for the presentation. I guess my question is, first of all, I agree with what's been expressed in terms of just the need to continue to work with the community on this one. I think it is a big, impactful project for that neighborhood. And there have been a lot of concerns expressed about this project, but also just the future of the whole mall site. So could you speak a little bit about those future plans and what, you said a little bit about, ensuring the continuation of the market, but what's the long-term vision for the mall?
So we did include a long-term vision for the mall in our DPIR filing. We are not going to advance a planning process, a community planning process for the remainder of that mall today or with this filing because we have long-term leases there. But as I said, we do intend to do that in the future when those leases expire and we can make changes and we can make those changes with the community. This project does not preclude any future planning process for the remainder of the mall. And it does not preclude the use of the mall today in terms of parking and operations. And in the future, too, we have no intention of removing the grocery store, removing the retail on Main Street. We actually want to flip it back onto Main Street and not have it inward facing, and keep the pharmacy, keep those tenants that are neighborhood serving uses.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Any additional questions or comments? Okay. Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Okay, item number 15. Request authorization to enter into an affordable rental housing agreement and restriction for the proposed construction of one IDP unit located at 841 Columbia Road and to take all related actions. Andy.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, Director Shen, Secretary Polhemus, and members of the board. I'm Andy Feldman, Housing Policy Manager with the Mayor's Office of Housing. Tonight, I'm here to request your vote on an affordable housing agreement for the development at 841 Columbia Road in Dorchester. This development is building 6 units, and while it didn't trigger IDP, the proponent is voluntarily restricting 1 unit. The board previously authorized an RHAR for this project, but since beginning construction, the proponent has decided to change from rental to homeownership. Therefore, the vote in front of you tonight will allow the agency to enter into an agreement to dedicate that 1 unit under the policy. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Additional questions or comments? All right, hearing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, or no, just all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. One IDP unit at a time.
One at a time.
It's meaningful. It is still, yeah. And it's a condo, so that's home ownership. Okay, item number 16. Request authorization to issue a scoping determination waiving further review pursuant to Article 80B-5.4D of the zoning code in connection with the proposed notice of project change from the previously approved small project for the creation of 68 residential home ownership units, including 12 IDP units, 34 car parking spaces, and 84 bicycle parking spaces, located at 1702 Hyde Park Avenue, and to issue a certificate of compliance upon successful completion of the Article 80 process, and to enter into a cooperation agreement and transportation access plan agreement and an affordable housing agreement, and to take all related actions. Stephen.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, Madam Secretary, and Director Shen. My name is Stephen Harvey, and I'm a Senior Project Manager at the Planning Department, and I want to thank you for your time this evening, or this afternoon. The project I bring before you today is a revised 1702 Hyde Park Ave project located in Hyde Park. Next slide, please. Originally approved by the BPDA on August 17, 2023, the proponent filed a letter of intent with the Boston Planning Department proposing to revise the 2023 small project approval. On January 14, 2026, the proponent filed the application with the Planning Department with the requested revisions. The filing proposed to increase the building height from 4 stories, 52 feet, to 7 stories, 69 feet and 3/4. The filing also proposed increasing the unit count from 44 to 68 units, condominium units, increasing the IDP contribution from 7 units to 12 affordable IDP units. The parking for the proposal was reduced from 38 to 34 garage parking spaces. The proposed ground floor commercial retail space remained the same. The changes set forth in the filing changed the application review from the original project from small project review under Article 80E to large project review under Article 80B of the code. The proponent therefore required was required to comply with the additional requirements set forth in Article 80B for large project review. Joint IAG public meetings were held virtually via Zoom on March 3rd, 2026, and on March 25th, 2026. The comment period ran from January 14th, 2026 through April 3rd, 2026. The filing and meetings were posted on the Planning Department's website, and notifications were sent out to all subscribers of the Planning Department's Hyde Park Neighborhood Update List. With that said, I'd like to pass it over to Ted from the planning team to go over the planning context for the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. My name is Ted Schwartzberg. I'm the Assistant Deputy Director for Planning Review. I'm filling in for my colleague Michelle Yee, who couldn't be here tonight. Next slide, please. The proposed MPC is located at 1702 Hyde Park Avenue in the Hyde Park Local Industrial 2 zoning subdistrict. While this area is zoned for industrial uses, the proposed project is consistent in use and dimension with an emerging mixed-use cluster along Hyde Park Avenue. Due to its location near the MBTA Reedville commuter rail station, the proposed project also falls within the boundaries of the Fairmount Indigo Planning Initiative released by the BRA in 2015. This initiative envisioned this area as a future economic center, highlighting opportunities for infill housing, transit-oriented development, and continued streetscape improvements. The proposed project aligns with these goals. Next slide, please. Within this figure that was created by my colleague Michelle, the proposed MPC is compared to existing zoning. The pink area highlights the maximum height and setbacks that could be built within this area using the existing antiquated zoning. As you can see, the current zoning designation is not consistent with the emergent mixed-use cluster that has been recently established here. The current zoning dimensional regulations assume lower scale industrial building typologies with higher lot coverage, which limit the ability to provide much-needed public realm and open space improvements in residential developments. Zoning relief is recommended by planning staff as the greater height and density aligns with the local planning context and will bring many public realm improvements, including street and sidewalk improvements and 6 new street trees. Thank you, and I'll now turn it over to the proponent to describe their project in more detail.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Director Shen, Secretary Palamas, and members of the board. My name is Justin Burns. I'm an attorney with Pulgini & Norton, representing on behalf of the developer for this project, Thomas Garrity. With me today is Mitch Fishman of MLF Consulting, the project permitting consultant, and David Freed, the project architect of Chu & Company, who is attending via Zoom and will run us through the plans. Stephen and Ted did a great job providing a summary of this project. Just to give a little more background, this project originally filed its SPRA back in 2021, and after a very thorough process, received its approval as a 5-story mixed-use building with 44 condo units in ground floor commercial space in 2023. In the period of time after our approval, Mr. Garrity observed subsequent approvals along Hyde Park Avenue, particularly those at 1690 and 1740 Hyde Park Avenue, which projected a greater height than our project. With this, he saw an opportunity not only to provide continuity in terms of the roof line across these projects, but also a chance to increase the housing stock in the area even further and provide even more much-needed home ownership in Hyde Park. Between the increase of those home ownership units, widening of the sidewalk and furnishing zone, and other public realm improvements, including modern street lighting, we feel that this project represents a productive collaborative effort to achieve the joint aims of both the city and Mr. Garrity in revitalizing this area of Hyde Park. I'd like to take an opportunity to thank both Stephen and the planning team, as well as the contributors on our own development team for their hard work over the past year to bring this updated project to this stage. We look forward to continuing to work with the city to complete this project that we feel that all parties can be proud of. And I will now turn it over to David to go over the plans. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Justin. Madam Chair, Director Shen, Secretary Bohemus, and members of the board. My name is David Freed, and I'm an architect at Chu & Company. Next slide, please. Transforming an industrial site into a vibrant residential hub, this project offers a premier homeownership opportunity just steps away from the Reedville commuter rail station. Highlighting a commitment to equity and sustainability, our development features 12 affordable units and is engineered to Passive House and LEED Gold standards. The site will revitalize the neighborhood by introducing a lively retail space and complete streets upgrades, including expanded sidewalks, lush greenery, and modern lighting to create a safer, more connected community. Next slide, please. As Justin explained earlier, our proposal previously was 5 stories and 44 units, and now we are here before you seeking approval for a 7-story building with 68 units, 34 parking spaces. Next slide, please. Our site bound in yellow here is currently an auto junkyard and is just steps away from the Reedville commuter rail station, as well as the numbers 32 and 33 bus stops. Next slide, please. The top views illustrate views up and down Hyde Park Avenue, and the lower slides illustrate views along the backside of our site along the MBTA access road. Next slide, please. Projects that have already been approved are to our left at 1690, 1700 Hyde Park Avenue, and immediately to our right at 1740 Hyde Park Avenue, as well as across the street at 1717, 1725 Hyde Park Avenue. Further away on the other side of the refill station is this Bragg Street development. With those five developments, those bring much needed housing to the area. Next slide, please. This is a site section and elevation of our project. Our building's in the middle with the 2 adjoining projects on either side of us. You can see 1690 is 7 stories. And at the upper end, 1740 is 5 stories. Our building aligns with the top of those 2 buildings to create a consistent street wall. Next slide, please. This will be a brick building along the front facade. There will be 2 colors of brick. Many of the units will have private outdoor space with balconies cut into the front facade. Both the retail entrance and the residential entrance will have canopies to provide some shelter at the building's entries. Next slide, please. This site section just illustrates the grade difference between Hyde Park Ave on the left and the MBTA access road on the right, which is about 14 feet. Next slide, please. Our building will be providing a vehicular easement to the garage of number 1740, and that's what this slide illustrates. Next slide, please. The plan on the left is our commercial level. Both the commercial retail space and the bike storage unit will activate the sidewalk on the lower end of our site along Hyde Park Ave. And the image to the right is our first floor plan, which has a residential entrance and amenity space up at the higher end of our site, which will activate the sidewalk along there. Next slide, please. This landscape plan just illustrates the expanded sidewalk to meet complete street guidelines. We'll be providing an 8-foot swath along the entire frontage of our property to facilitate the complete streets sidewalk here. We'll be providing new street trees and street lighting, as well as bike storage for 16 bicycles. Next slide, please. And then here we just have a couple views. Next slide, please. And next slide. And just to quickly summarize, our project will be providing 68 condominiums, 56 of which will be market rate and 12 will be affordable units. We'll be creating temporary construction jobs and be providing 2,500 square feet of leasable retail space. Community benefits include an expanded sidewalk and public realm along Hyde Park Avenue, new street trees and lights, a contribution to the city's fund for parks. And then to align, our project will align with the city's sustainability goals. The building will be LEED Gold, will meet LEED Gold standards, and will be designed to passive house standards and will be efficient, be a very efficient building enclosure and net zero from day one. And with that, I'll turn it back to John. Thank you.
Thank you again, and thank you to the project attorney and Ted, and happy to take any questions from the board.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments from the board?
A couple, to follow up on my last question. Any solar panels, PV array on the roof?
The roof will be PV ready.
Yeah, as it has to be, but will there be PV on that PV ready roof?
It's not initially.
Okay. Again, I mean, I think you've got 3 huge new buildings. They're just for something I appreciate, but the sustainability goals that are very aspirational, but also the law that they have to be. So I would just urge you to resharpen your pencils and look, because I think the opportunity to create on-site energy is really unparalleled there with that location. This is a vast, empty industrial space, which will soon have housing, which is great, and I support it, but I would urge you to, as you go through the process, use every tool at your disposal to build it on site. It's going to be, I guarantee it will make it a more attractive building for would-be residents. And then the leasable space, the 2,500 square feet, what's that? I assume nothing's been identified yet, but I'm curious, what type of commercial space do you think would be activated there? Is this going to be like a law office or a real estate office or something a coffee shop, given the proximity to the commuter rail station?
So we'll be
Potentially
working.
a coffee shop? Oh.
Possibly a
Sorry, go
coffee
ahead.
shop. We'll first be working with the mayor's office of arts and cultures to see if we can locate a tenant for the space. And if we are not able to locate a space at that time, then the proponent can look at the open market and possibly put.
So why would it be the arts and culture cabinet?
It's a long list of possibilities. We work with arts and cultures, and they look to fill it with a tenant that can use the space based on the list of tenants that they have. So,
Like an artist live workspace?
Well, possibly a dance studio was what was last discussed, but that is hypothetical. But we've sized it out to be 25,000 square feet, 22,500 square feet, and that's the scale that the dimensions that they requested.
Okay. No, that's helpful, Steve. Yeah, just curious on that. And then, can you talk very briefly on how the community benefits have increased from the initial proposal to now? Because obviously it's gone up, it's going to be more units, that's great. But has that changed sort of the bottom line in terms of the community benefits?
Yes, in terms of the IDP, there was an increase in IDP from 7 to 12 units, public realm improvements, new street trees, new street lights that they're going to have to install, and also working with the neighboring proponent to create a collaborative easement with the parking. I would say those are an increase of from 10,000 to 5,000 and contribution to parks.
Great, okay. I think you have that backwards, maybe 5 to 10.
Yeah, 10 to 15,000.
10 to 15,
Sorry,
you got
did the
it, you
math
got
in
it.
my head, sorry.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. Okay, thank you. That's all, Madam Chair.
Okay. Additional questions or comments? I do have one. So that slide where you kind of listed all of the projects that have already been approved in that area, have any of those kind of broken ground yet? And then it's kind of two-part question. How does it work when there's a bunch of, when there's multiple buildings kind of being built in that same area and coordinating, again, the impact and, during construction and the interim phases?
Well, I know that the Sprague Street project, I believe, has been constructed. The remaining projects, I do not believe, have been constructed. We usually ISD request a construction management plan, and so we would work within those guidelines. It is an industrial area, so there's a lot of space.
Yeah.
A lot of the sites are open and vacant, so I don't foresee I don't foresee that there would need to be interruptions to the roadway, because that's very important to the community that there isn't. So I would hope that all the proponents, including this one, would work to not create any traffic or congestion additionally, but just working with the neighboring proponents in ISD.
Okay, I was curious on who from a city perspective oversees that, but it's ISD. Okay.
And Madam Chair, and both of you, thank you for the questions. By chance, I live in the neighborhood, so yes, we could be heavily impacted because you still have to, trucks have to come in with lumber and things of that nature. We kind of live on a grid, as you both know, where we use the bridges to get across, so it's really one street to do anything. So I know you guys will deal with ISD for planning on potentially over 500 units in the next couple of years in one small area, in a couple block radius, so.
Yeah. Do you have anything? No. Okay. I think that's it. Okay, if there are no other questions or comments.
Just, I'm sorry, I meant to ask that, and just so I have this right, does this include the grant, just like I don't want to call it junkyard, but that's essentially what it is. Does that include this when you talked about the property? I'm just trying to
visualize.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a vacant site. It was kind of a construction laydown site. So there's nothing constructed on the site right now.
Our grant's a little back.
Oh, grants back. Okay, no, so it doesn't include that. There's this place very close, but I don't think it's part of the area that will still presumably be operational. Okay. Well, it'll make it convenient when they're getting rid of some of their work debris, so thank you.
All right, thank you. Well, if there are no other further questions or comments, motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'm
Thank you.
recusing for the next item.
Okay. Item number 17, request authorization for confirmatory vote related to board actions taken at the board meeting held on February 12th, 2026, related to the Mildred Haley Phase 1, Chapter 121A project. This vote is being requested due to a document being omitted in the initial board presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, Secretary Paul Hamus, Director Shen. My name is John Spillane. I'm an attorney in the Office of General Counsel. Before you today is a request for authorization to approve a second amendment to the report and decision and enter into a regulatory agreement with respect to Phase 4A and 4B of the Mildred Haley Phase 1, Chapter 121A project, and execute any and all documents which the Director deems necessary and appropriate in connection with these phases. These actions relate to Mildred Haley Phase 1, Chapter 121A project, which was previously brought and approved by the board at the board meeting held on February 12th, 2026, and is being revisited for confirmatory vote due to a document being omitted in the initial board presentation. As a refresher, this project is an all-affordable housing project consisting of 673 units, varying various income levels. The applicant for this action is seeking to delegate its authority to develop Phase 4A of the project to the Phase 4A developer, and the Phase 4B of the project to the Phase 4B developer. Upon such delegation, those developers will enter into respective 6A contracts with the City of Boston and regulatory agreements with the authority. In addition, the amendment adjusts certain zoning variances, zoning waivers granted by the original report and decision to reflect minor design adjustments for Phase 4A and 4B. The General Counsel for the BPDA has determined that the changes set forth in the submitted application for delegation of authority in related matters pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 121A, does not collectively constitute a fundamental change in accordance with Acts of 1960, Chapter 652, Section 13A, as amended, in a public hearing is therefore not required. It is the recommendation of the staff to approve the second amendment to the report and decision and to enter into regulatory agreements with respect to Phase 4A and 4B, the Mildred Haley Phase 1, Chapter 120A project. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Questions or comments from the board? All right, hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes.
Thank you, everyone.
Do you want to do another one, or do we?
Let's do one.
Okay, yeah. I've got 4 minutes. Do you want to grab Kate or someone? I don't know. But I'll go ahead and read it while we're waiting. Item number 18, request authorization to terminate an affordable rental housing agreement and restriction in connection with 6 on-site IDP units located at 4236 Washington Street to assist the Mayor's Office of Housing's proposed new funding of the property that will result in all units becoming fully income restricted and to take all related actions. Andy.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Director Shen, Secretary Polhemus, and members of the board. I'm Andy Feldman, Housing Policy Manager with the Mayor's Office of Housing. Tonight, I'm here to request your vote to authorize the termination of an affordable rental housing agreement and restriction for 4236 Washington Street in Roslindale. This market rate rental project was completed a number of years ago with 43 total units, including 6 IDP units. A new developer now proposes to acquire the building using funding and financing from the city's Acquisition Opportunity Program and Boston Acquisition Fund, and restrict all units in the building in perpetuity. In order to do so, the existing RHAR must be terminated. Therefore, the vote in front of you tonight will allow the agency to terminate the RHAR. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? All right, here.
I'd just like to say this is, Chief Shen always likes to know my favorite project, so this is it. It reminds me of the Drake meme where you're talking about getting rid of restricted units so they can all be restricted units, so this is great. Thank you.
Great. Okay, if there are no other further questions or comments, motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Thank you. And then we should break here. One more. We could try one more, yeah. 19. Item number 19.
Presentation.
Request authorization to issue a certification of approval pursuant to Article 80E Small Project Review of the Zoning Code for the proposed creation of 28 residential home ownership units, including 5 inclusionary zoning units, 12 car parking spaces, and 30 bicycle parking spaces located at 4487 Washington Street, and to enter into a community benefits agreement and to take all related actions. Zoe.
Thank you, and good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Secretary Polhemus, and Director Shen. My name is Zoe Duvall, and I'm a project manager in development review, here to present the Article 80E small project at 4487 Washington Street in Roslindale, proposed by JW Construction. The project is the second to be proposed for approval by this board under the new Squares and Streets zoning in Roslindale Square. One public meeting was held virtually on December 17th, 2025, after the project filed its SPRA on November 25th, 2025. Next slide, please. The project will create 28 new home ownership units consisting of 1 and 2 bedroom units, of which 5 units, or 17%, will be affordable at 80 to 100% AMI in compliance with inclusionary zoning. The proposed project will include 12 subgrade car parking spaces, a gym, on-site management office, mailroom, 30 bike parking spaces on the ground floor. The proposed project will also include a common roof deck and approximately 3,300 square feet of open space. The project is subject to the updated Article 37 zoning and is net zero carbon compliant, solar ready, and is an all-efficient electric building. Staff assisted on the proposed project with best practices and pre-file guidance, and I will now hand it over to my colleague Jane to take you through the planning context.
Good evening. My name is Jane Park, and I'm the Planning and Zoning Reviewer for this project. 4487 Washington Street is located in the S2 Active Squares zoning district, adopted through the Roslindale Squares and Streets zoning initiative, which was passed in June 2025. This is the second Article 80 project that to be filed under the new zoning framework and will introduce new home ownership opportunities in the neighborhood. The proposal would replace an existing 2.5-story residential building on a corner lot that includes a large vacant side yard at the intersection of Cornell and Washington Streets. Cornell Street is primarily residential, while Washington Street is a mixed-use corridor with residential and commercial uses. This project brings home ownership opportunities to a transit-rich location with access to 3 bus routes, a blue bike station, and proximity to 2 commuter rail stations. Next slide, please. This project complies with all use and dimensional regulation requirements under the new Roslindale Squares and Streets zoning and does not require any zoning relief. Ground floor residential units are permitted in this subdistrict, and active ground floor uses are not required. Furthermore, this project is Passive House certified and net zero carbon compliant. I'll now hand it over to my urban design colleague to walk through the project's design in more detail.
Thank you. I'm Eric Boatwright. I'm a senior architect and the primary urban design reviewer for the project. As you can see, the landscape design for this project contributes meaningfully to the overall site plan by providing a combination of shared outdoor amenity space, private open space, planting, and site circulation improvements that exceed zoning requirements for usable open space and permeable area. The building's edges along Washington and Cornell Street will be enhanced through planted areas, guest bike parking, accessible pathways, and screening of service elements like the transformer, which have been set back from the sidewalk to align with the building. The planting palette includes a mix of canopy trees, shrubs, perennials, and all in strengthening the site's residential character. Next slide, please. The building negotiates the slope of Washington Street by locating the main building entrance in the middle of the building, with direct access to bicycles storage on the uphill side of the building to the left there. A step-back top floor and balconies along each side of the building reduce the apparent scale of the facade and create a rhythm that is similar to the neighboring 1- and 2-family houses. The corner of Washington and Cornell features glazed walls to take advantage of views of the city to the north. The building's masonry, shingle, and plank siding further underscore the project's residential character. Thank you.
So this project was also actively engaged in early pre-file before the Article 80 modernization tools were officially rolled out. However, modernization was implemented starting in the review phase after the SPRA was filed, and one public meeting was held using the modernized engagement tools. Next slide, please. And this concludes the presentation for this item, and the JW team is also here and available to answer any additional questions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board?
Well, I'm nothing if not consistent, Madam Chair. I know it's solar ready. Tell me about the PV panels I'm gonna see, Jeff.
Nick Landry, project architect. There's two areas of the roof that we have planned for the PV panels, one along the Washington Street side and one toward the back of the property.
Fabulous, great, thank you. No, it's a great, I know there's a lot of development happening on that corridor. It's blocks away from my daughter's daycare, so I drive by it every day. The proximity to the Pleasant Cafe is perhaps your best selling point when you're trying to get tenants, and looking forward to see those beautiful PV panels on the roof, so thank you.
Additional questions or comments from the board? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Congratulations and good luck. So we are now going to take a brief 5-minute break before we start our public hearing. So we'll see you at 40 after.
The loser buys the winner coffee.
Welcome back. So we are now starting the public hearing portion of the agenda. This is a public hearing before the Boston Redevelopment Authority, doing business as the Boston Planning and Development Agency, being held in conformance with Articles 80A-2, 80D-5 of the Boston Zoning Code, to consider an adequacy determination pursuant to Sections 80D-5 and 80D-9 of the code, approving the First Amendment to the 2025 through 2035 Institutional Master Plan for Harvard University's campus in Allston, the proposed First Amendment, filed by Harvard University with the BPDA on February 11th, 2026. This hearing was duly advertised on April 1st, 2026. This is a BPDA hearing on the proposed petition by the agency. Staff members will first present their case and are subject to questioning by members of the agency. Thereafter, anyone who wishes to testify about the proposed project will be afforded an opportunity. We are taking support and opposition at the same time, so if you're planning to testify via Zoom, please take time now to verify that your computer microphone is active and click on the hand icon on your Zoom control panel. This will signal to the staff that you would like to speak. So when your virtual hand is raised, it will be blue. If you're calling into the meeting and would like to testify, please dial *9 to raise your hand. When I call for all testimony, staff will announce your name and allow you to talk. You must unmute your microphone and your webcam will not be active. If you are planning to testify in person in the boardroom, please line up behind the podium after the presentation is concluded and we will call on you. In an effort to accommodate all who would like to speak about this proposal, each person will be given up to 2 minutes to comment. BPDA staff will indicate when 30 seconds remain, and at that time, please conclude your remarks so that the hearing may continue and others may be heard. Finally, the proponents are allowed a period of 5 to 10 minutes for rebuttal if they so desire. The Open Public Meeting Law requires that we ask if there is anyone in the audience who's recording this meeting. So if you're recording this meeting, please identify yourself now. Okay, seeing none. Also, please note that no demonstrations of approval or disapproval from members of the public are permitted during the meeting. So Jason, now begin the presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, Secretary Polimis, and Director Shen. My name is Jason Farrell, and I'm a project assistant with the Development Review Division. I'm here today to discuss the proposed First Amendment to the 2025-2035 Institutional Master Plan for the Harvard University campus in Allston. The proposed amendment would allow electronic signage for the project at 175 North Harvard Street. This signage was contemplated at the time of the original project approval, but the necessity for this zoning allowance was not initially considered. The IMP&F was filed on February 11th, 2026, and was reviewed under the expedited IMP procedure laid out in Section 80D-9 of the code. The filing triggered a 30-day comment period ending on March 12th, 2026. Due to the expedited IMP amendment review procedures, a public meeting was available upon request of an elected official, but none was requested. The project received no comments other than a letter of support from City Council President Breeden. I will now turn it over to the Harvard team to present the proposed amendment and signage plan.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Good evening, members. Good evening, Director Shen and Secretary Polimis. I'm Mark Handley on behalf of Harvard University this evening. Delighted to be here with you. I would note that we are now 1 year removed from our approved 2025 IMP. That is in fact a map of our 2014 IMP area. So just want to make that note and present 2 slides to you to go over this First Amendment to the new 2025 IMP. Next slide, please. Thank you. So we're here tonight to talk about the American Repertory Theater. We are well through construction on this extremely exciting performing goal center for performing arts. Tonight in front of you are 2 slides that relate to electronic signage. 4 poster board, poster case style signs that you see right here on the left, and 2 kiosk signs that you see on the right. This project initially received board approval in November 2023. We subsequently went through a full 10-year IMP process that culminated 13 months ago, and we're here to make sure that the electronic signage associated with the new home for the ART is compliant with all necessary zoning and fits within the project. We have one more slide. So here's how it'll look from the sidewalk. You've got the 4 poster case poster style signs on the bottom. You've got the 2 kiosk style signs. These signs will be electrified. They are electronic, and we have a full project team, some of which are online, some of which are here. Andrew Barisi of Roll Barisi is the designer of the signs. If there are any questions about that design, otherwise I'm happy to answer any questions you have, and thank you for taking the time tonight. Thank you to our development review team for getting us this far.
Thank you. Okay, so as this is a public hearing, we're now going to take public testimony. So if you'd like to testify in person, please step up to the podium, announce your name, affiliation, and your position on the proposed project when you're called to speak. If you're on Zoom and would like to testify, please raise your virtual hand. So, Minor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Board members, Madam Secretary, Director Sheng, Minor Perez representing the Carpenters Union. On behalf of thousands of union carpenters that live and work throughout the city of Boston, we want to go on record in support of our friends from Harvard University. This is a great project. We have many union carpenters working on site, and thank you for the job opportunities. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Director Shen, Madam Chair. Tom Ward, I own a house in the city. I'm also affiliated with the Ironworkers Local 7. Point of information, previous months, Northeastern came in front of us with a development proposal. Their pilot cash initiative to the city was increased, as was Wentworth University before their project was approved. Can we expect the same of Harvard University tonight? Director Shen?
Oh, yeah, we can't do question and answer, but take your question into consideration.
Pilot program,
for the board.
payment in lieu of taxes.
Yeah, no, I know what the pilot program is, it's
Okay,
just
I
that we
wonder if
can't.
everybody else does, and how much endowment money Harvard University has. My property taxes, as well as everybody else in the city, has gone up double digits. We're in a severe budget crisis. So if they want approval of their development projects, and I'm a big building guy, they have to increase their cash payments to the pilot program. My opinion. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, no, thank you for your comments. Do we have anybody online?
Is there anybody who would like to testify on Zoom? If you would, please raise your virtual hand. No.
Okay. Questions or comments from the board?
No comments, support it. Mark, as you know, having worked in this building, brevity is rewarded, so appreciate it. I guess I would just note, just the only change to the IMP is the inclusion of these digital billboards. So I'm just surprised that would necessitate a public meeting and that couldn't be dealt with. I'm sure there's a reason why that we're here, but just wanted to raise that point in case it comes up again. So thank you, Mark.
We were afforded the opportunity for an expedited amendment to cover this one. So it was not a full IMP amendment. However, it is the first amendment to our IMP that was approved a year ago. The benefits, of course, associated with the project itself, the large project approval from November 2023, were what is to have become expected of Harvard University, and the benefits were extensive, not just in the 23 large project approval, including benefits to the adjacent park, incredible benefits related to the American Repertory Theater, including community access. And then subsequent to that, of course, the benefits associated with our new 10-year IMP.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Member O'Malley, if I can address your question as well. Seth Reisman, Deputy Director of Design Review. Current underlying zoning, Article 11, which governs signs, creates and only allows for electronic signage in electronic signage districts. This is outside of one of those districts. And so the other mechanisms that we have at our disposal are IMP amendments and PDAs, which are other ways to achieve zoning. So in this case, this was the clearest zoning compliant pathway we could find to allow for these limited electronic signs.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. And let me be clear, my quibble wasn't the folks that got us to this point. I think it's probably worth a conversation going forward, particularly as we look at rezoning, as you're going to see more and more of these LED, nice-looking signs. I don't think they should be everywhere. I don't want the Times Squareification of Boston, but it certainly makes sense outside of theater. I think it makes perfect sense. So just something to watch for going forward.
And yes, through the chair, I definitely agree. It makes sense for a theater, and definitely a beautiful theater such as itself, Mass Timber. That theater is well-traveled from people from Washington State have come to take a look at this. So I'm in support, and thank you very much, Mark.
Yeah, it's tricky with electronic signage. Yeah, outside of the theater district. Done a lot of, we've done a lot of work from that. So just to, what do I want to say? Okay, so from the previous question that was raised, we'll raise that as well. So can you talk a little bit about the decision on how you arrived to your pilot contribution and the reasoning why it wouldn't be to the full amount?
As far as the pilot decision, what time frame, Madam Chair, are you referring to?
I mean, what time frame is?
What year of pilot? Harvard has continually participated in the city's pilot program.
Yes. Yeah. So
Right.
let's talk about the history of your, are you, this year, last year, do you consistently meet that, that pilot agreement or not?
Right, so it is unexpected to talk about the current pilot program at a BPDA board hearing. The reason being, we're still in the mayor's voluntary pilot program, as we have been for about 15 years now. Harvard has continuously participated in the current pilot program. We have gone up in our cash contribution for at least as long as I've been affiliated. Let me say, at least the last 7 years that I've looked at most recently, we've gone up every single year. One of the elements of Harvard's participation in the program, as you know, is we are limited to taking credit only for up to half the amount requested in community benefits. These are community benefits that have no interconnection with Article 80 community benefits, which we talk about extensively up here at the Planning Department and with the BPDA board. But Harvard's cash contribution has gone up consistently. We're extremely reliable in our participation, and we're limited to about $7 million a year in community benefit credits. We have continuously come in above $20 million in real community benefit expenses that the program embraces. So our participation in the program is very high and very continuous. And that has grown year over year on the cash side for at least 7 years now.
Yeah, and I hope it grows. I hope it grows additionally. And it's not unusual for us to talk about pilots when we are doing these IMPs. That's pretty standard.
My community benefits associated with my IMP and with this project are in a cooperation agreement, which is a contract between Harvard, the city, and the community. So those benefits are not applicable for the current pilot program. They don't count.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah. It's still a question. Yeah. Okay. Additional questions or comments from the board? Hearing, seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And I abstain. The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the next hearing. This is a public hearing before Boston Redevelopment Authority doing business as a Boston Planning and Development Agency, being held in conformance with Articles 80A-2 and 80B-5.5 of the Boston Zoning Code to consider approval of the Longwood Place Phase 1 project located in the Longwood Medical Area as a development impact project within the meaning of Section 80B-7 of the code. This hearing was duly advertised on April 1st, 2026. This is a BPDA hearing on a proposed petition by the agency. Staff members will first present their case and are subject to questioning by members of the agency. Thereafter, anyone who wishes to testify about the proposed project will be afforded an opportunity. We are taking support and opposition at the same time. If you're planning to testify via Zoom, please take time now to verify that your computer microphone is active and click on the hand icon to your Zoom control panel. This will signal to the staff that you would like to speak. When your virtual hand is raised, it will be blue. If you are calling into the meeting and would like to testify, please dial *9 to raise your hand. When I call for all testimony, staff will announce your name and allow you to talk. You must unmute your microphone and your webcam will not be active. If you're planning to testify in person in the boardroom, please line up behind the podium after the presentation has concluded and we will call on you. In an effort to accommodate all who would like to speak about this proposal, each person will be given up to 2 minutes to comment. BPDA staff will indicate when 30 seconds remain. At that time, please conclude your remarks and so that the hearing may continue and others may be heard. Finally, the proponents are allowed a period of 5 to 10 minutes for rebuttal if they desire. Open public meeting law requires that we ask if there is anyone in the audience who is recording this meeting. If you're recording this meeting, please identify yourself now. Okay, seeing none. And also please note that no demonstrations of approval or disapproval from the members of the public are permitted during the meeting. Sarah, can you begin the presentation?
Great. Thank you again, and good evening, Chair Rojas, members of the board, Director Shen, and Secretary Paul Hemus. My name is Sarah Peck, and I'm a Development Portfolio Manager in the Development Review Division. We're here before you this evening to discuss the proposed Longwood Place Phase 1 project. The project site is located within approved planned development area number 134, Longwood Place, which consists of a 5.89 acre site on Brookline Avenue in the Longwood Medical Area neighborhood of Boston. The existing site consists of Simmons University residential dormitories, dining and athletic facilities, and 2 small surface parking lots for Simmons staff. The site area encompassing the Phase 1 project includes the portion of the PDA site located south of the proposed mid-block street. The proposed Phase 1 project is fully compliant with PDA number 134, which was approved by this board in 2023. Phase 1 includes over 1 million square feet of commercial and residential uses across 3 buildings with activated ground floors that include a mix of retail and community spaces. The commercial buildings include one 503,000 square foot building and one 335,000 square foot building. The residential building is 205,000 square feet and includes 227 residential rental units, 20 of which are affordable units. Phase 1 also includes construction of the below-grade parking garage where all loading for the site is located. On January 21st, 2025, the proponent filed a letter of intent with the Planning Department. The members of the Impact Advisory Group that had served during the review of the Planned Development Area Development Plan were given the opportunity to assist the Planning Department with the Article 80B large project review of the project. A project notification form was filed for the project on March 18th, 2025, which initiated a public comment period concluding on May 14th. The Planning Department hosted an IAG meeting on April 28th, 2025, and a public meeting on April 30th, 2025, in connection with that PNF filing. These meetings were both held virtually on Zoom and advertised in the local neighborhood newspapers, posted to the Planning Department's calendar, and email notification was sent to all subscribers of the Planning Department's Longwood Medical Area and Fenway neighborhood updates. The Planning Department then issued a request for supplemental information on July 11th, 2025, in response to that PNF filing. A supplemental filing for the project was then filed with the Planning Department on February 5th, 2026, which initiated a public comment period concluding on April 1st. The Planning Department hosted IAG meetings on March 9th and March 16th, and public meetings on March 11th and March 18th in connection with the supplemental filing. These meetings were all held virtually on Zoom, posted to the Planning Department's calendar, and email notification was sent to all subscribers of the Planning Department's Longwood Medical Area and Fenway neighborhood updates. The project was considered by the Boston Civic Design Commission on May 6th, 2025, with design committee meetings on June 17th, August 19th, and March 24th, 2026. The BCDC approved the project at its April 7th, 2026 meeting. Before I conclude, I do want to note a couple of key project benefits that will be delivered with this phase of the project. The development team will provide a $6 million payment to the Parks Department for the ongoing maintenance of the Emerald Necklace. This is in addition to a $1 million payment already made to fund the sunlight access study being conducted by the Parks Department currently. This first phase also includes a 9,000 square foot community space known as the Forum on the ground floor of the C1 building, which is one of the commercial buildings. The Forum has been designed with auditorium-style seating and a flexible layout so that it can serve the broadest range of community needs going forward. Lastly, I want to thank all of the members of the IAG who have been working on this project for the past 5 years. We have held over a dozen meetings on this project and the PDA, and we do sincerely appreciate their commitment. I also want to thank the broader community for their participation in the review of the project, and especially Councilor Durkin, who I know spoke earlier tonight, and her staff for their continued advocacy for their community. At this point, I would now like to hand it off to my colleague, Ford Del Vecchio, to present the planning context for the project, followed by the presentation from the development team. Thank you all.
Thank you, Sarah. Good evening, Chair Rojas, Secretary Polimas, members of the board, and Director Shen. My name is Ford Del Vecchio, and I'm the planning review team member assigned for this project. Can we go back to the previous slide? Actually, that should be the proper slide for this. Thank you. In December 2020, the BPDA approved the Simmons University Institutional Master Plan intended to regulate development associated with the Simmons University campus. The plan focused on renovating and consolidating existing academic and residential facilities, which are today located in two separate campuses, into one distinct campus. Development of the project on the PDA site was reviewed under Article 80C, Plan Development Area of our zoning code. The development plan for Plan Development Area number 134 was approved by the BPDA board in January 2023 and the Boston Zoning Commission in March 2023 and outlines the development of this project. The PDA development plan includes up to 1.7 million square feet of gross floor area of new residential, laboratory/office, medical/clinical, community space, retail, and associated landscape and public realm improvements distributed over 5 buildings on the PDA. These metrics can be seen on the table to the left of the slide. The development plan also includes a requirement for a minimum of 2.6 acres of open space, or around 40% of the total area. Thank you, and I will now hand it off to the development team to present in more detail.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the board, Director Shen, Secretary Polimas, and members of the public that are here and listening. My name is Russell DiMartino. I'm Executive Vice President of Development for Skanska Commercial Development. I'm going to be presenting the Longwood Place project today. I'm joined by my colleague, Laura Brink-Pazinski, our long-term partner from Simmons University, who's going to make a few short comments as well. I'd like to start by thanking the BPDA urban design staff, specifically the BCDC, our IAG, and all the members of the public who have put their long, hard work into the project, both at the PDA level and through this submission as well. Their efforts have been enormous, and we're very grateful for that. Next slide, please. So this meeting represents a significant milestone for the partnership between Skanska and Simmons, which began back in 2017. At that time, Simmons and Skanska realized that it was our shared values that were the key that would allow Skanska's model of being both a developer and a contractor to help Simmons realize their one Simmons vision. You can see from this timeline that it's been a long journey, but it's a very worthwhile journey. Not only does the project play a key role, I think, in improving and revitalizing a very important part of the city of Boston, the Longwood Place project, but in doing so, it helps enable Simmons to continue its vital mission through the development and construction of the Simmons Living and Learning Center. And so to talk about the Living and Learning Center, what that means to Simmons, I'm going to ask Laura to make a few words.
Thanks, Russ. Good evening, members of the board, Director Shen, Chairman Rojas, and Secretary Polimas. Laura Brink-Pazinski from Simmons University. The last time that I stood in a meeting like this in person, the One Simmons project was just a dream that Simmons might be able to accomplish one day. And today we're less than 30 weeks away from that dream becoming a reality, with our students moving into this exceptional building in January of 2027.
Next slide. Go to the next slide, yeah.
There it is. The Living and Learning Center, which you see in this picture, is almost done, and it's a stunning, well-designed and apportioned addition to our campus and to the Fenway and LMA neighborhoods. Skanska is a reliable, responsible, creative, and compassionate partner for Simmons, and that partnership will continue as we continue to move forward into the Longwood Place project. The success of Longwood Place is important to Simmons, not just because our community will benefit from many amenities like the retail and green spaces, the safe crossing and walking areas, and employment opportunities, but also because of the improvements will eventually revert back to Simmons at the end of the ground lease period. It is for that reason and for all the improvements that the Longwood Place will bring to the neighborhood that Simmons strongly supports this incredible development project. We remain highly invested because we care about what is built on our land. It is our legacy, and we are proud to entrust that legacy to Skanska. We are incredibly grateful to the city, to the neighborhood stakeholders, and to all of our city partners for helping make this generational project and dream a reality, and for entrusting Skanska with one of our most important assets. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Laura. Can you go to the next slide, please? So this is just an orientation slide for those looking at the presentation to show everyone where the Longwood Place project sits in the fabric of the city and in the greater Fenway neighborhood. We generally say that Fenway Park is to the north, the LMA, the Longwood Medical Academic Area, to the south with all of the hospitals and institutions. Next slide, please. So zooming in a little bit, it becomes a little bit easier to see not only the importance of the LMA, but why we refer to the Longwood Place project as a gateway into the LMA. When I talk about the LMA, some of the statistics of the LMA are remarkable, and I want to spout a few of them off, if you will. The LMA is about 213 acres. It represents less than 1% of the landmass of the city of Boston. It produces $30 billion in economic output on an annual basis, which is over 7% of the city's annual output. 22 institutions, some of the best hospitals in the country and therefore the world. Some of the best academic institutions are in that 22. 70,000 employees on a daily basis. 27,000 students are in this area on a daily basis. Approximately 3 million patient visits annually. It is a very important part of the city of Boston. Longwood Place is a generational opportunity to add, to contribute, and to improve one of the most important neighborhoods in Boston. Next slide, please. Since the very beginning of this project in 2017, when we met with Laura, we've been focusing on the creation of accessible open space, inviting the public into the site and through the site for the rest of the LMA, creating housing and creating amenities for the entirety of the LMA. I think it is important to now address that the site does produce shadows on the Emerald Necklace. Since the approval of our PDA in early 2023, one of the major goals of our project and the work we've done has been to reduce the shadows on the Emerald Necklace through the architecture of the buildings. And I am very proud to say we did that. What you will see today and the project that we have designed is approximately 7% less than the shadow massing studies that were approved as part of the PDA. We were successful. It was an enormous effort. I am very proud of that. When we talk about the LMA proper, our team comes up with a broad saying that we use for whether or not we're meeting the goals. And that is that the experience of being in the LMA right now nowhere nearly comes close to the prestige that the LMA carries. This project is aimed at fixing that. Next slide, please. So right now, this is the experience around the site. It's a gated property. It's not open to the public. This stretch along Brookline Avenue is almost 1,000 feet with no retail, no cross streets, no access to the public, nothing terribly appealing to look at. The site right now serves a very important purpose for the students of Simmons, but for everybody else in the LMA, it is a long stretch that you have to walk by or drive by as quickly as you can to get to where you need to go or where you want to go. Next slide, please. So the project itself. Next slide. Thank you. Very quickly, this slide shows in red the PDA area, and in green, the areas in green are the project area, and I'll try to stick to that language. That's what we are talking about having approved tonight, the project area. Little orientation, on the bottom is Brookline Avenue. Pilgrim Road is the road that kind of circles from the right around, and on the very left-hand side is Short Street, which is the separation between this site and the Windsor School. Next slide. This site plan does a much better job highlighting the diversity of our outdoor spaces, our building uses, our activation strategies that we've designed into the project. I think it's obvious to say that we believe that the main Hart Park in the lower left-hand corner plays the primary role of our active outdoor space. It's lined by retail, our community forum space, a children's playground, the front porch at the R1 residential building. It really is meant to be a new town square for the LMA. In addition to the activated spaces, we've made room for more quiet spaces in our pocket plaza, as well as a unique shopping corridor that we call the Central Connector in between the C1 and the C2 buildings. The mid-block road on the right-hand side and our below-grade loading docks and parking is going to minimize the back-of-house space, maximizing the usefulness and the appeal to the neighbors and visitors, especially pedestrians that are moving through or coming to the site. And our retail and our forum community space, along with the exterior open spaces, are transformative neighborhood additions and amenities that'll serve not only the existing members of the LMA community, but the new members from our project. Next slide. So the next 5 slides or so are going to be a set of renderings that I'm going to use to highlight some of the important design aspects of the project. Obviously, the statistics on the right-hand side, the square footages and the heights of the buildings, as well as the 227 units that the project is bringing. This is a view from the southeast corner of the site. I think it does a good job demonstrating the important location of the main heart, not just to our project, but to the LMA. One of the BCDC members said something when we were doing this design that I will not forget because I loved it as an idea. He said, you really are creating a community space when you have a park that is lined by residential, commercial spaces, educational spaces, and a hospital. And that's what this main heart has on its 4 sides. Each building has a different designer, different architect, with one landscape designer, Sasaki, for the whole of the site. Throughout the entire process, we stressed the concept of bringing harmony in the design of these buildings, but making sure that they were diverse in their appearance. I think we've done a good job, and I'll hopefully convince you of that as well as we go through. Next slide, please. So this is also a view along Brookline, but looking from the other end of the site, so kind of looking south along Brookline. This is the C1 building in front, the C2 building behind. I think it very much accentuates why we call it a gateway center and the entries of these buildings. Along with the improvements to Brookline itself, this shows an important placement of the mid-block road and the new signalized crosswalk across Brookline, providing accessibility not just to the project, but to all of the LMA through this area. Next slide, please. This pedestrian view from the riverway side of the site is a view of our C2 building on the left and the R1 building on the right. Not only are the buildings working in harmony with each other, but they also fit well into the existing context in this part of the LMA, with the Windsor School and the BU buildings in the foreground. We did a lot of work with the urban design staff and the BCDC to make sure that the materiality, the fenestration, the facades worked very well together and in context with the overall LMA. Next slide, please. So I've talked a lot about the public realm. We use that phrase quite a bit, the improvements. One of the main adds for the project, one of the ones that I am particularly very proud of, is what we're doing along the Brookline Avenue experience. Currently, it's a 4-foot sidewalk with a wrought iron fence in the backside of the Simmons residential buildings, those pictures that I showed you earlier. The project's going to be adding a large retail-lined apron all along the C1 site and the expanse along Brookline for the entirety of the site, a wide 8-foot sidewalk, bike paths, a floating bus station, and of course, the main Hart Park that you see on the left-hand side. Next slide, please. This image is a view of our central connector looking south again towards the R1, what we call the front porch. It shows another example of the unique features of the site and the offerings that we have for retail, the diverse spaces throughout the site where you can shop, you can relax, you can connect, you can meet. The site is going to serve the entirety of the LMA as well as the visitors and employees that we're bringing. Next slide, please. So the next 4 slides are about our benefits. I'm not going to go line by line. I'm going to try to go to the ones that I think are particularly important. Here, the 9,000 square foot Forum Community Center. It's meant for everybody in the LMA and the Fenway. It's a community gathering place, it's a play space, it's a workspace, it's a place to just hang out. It'll be activated by our retail. It will be reservable, but it will be open to the public when it is not being used by somebody who's reserved it. Our below-grade loading docks in our garage. It's a significant design expense, but the benefit that it brings to the way the design works, I think, needs to be stated. Specifically bringing cars and vehicles off of the roads quickly, getting them down into the loading docks, and then maximizing the retail space in the back and minimizing the back of house space on our buildings is enormous, and we did it. Next slide, please. The streetscape and transportation benefits, we did significant work with all of our neighbors and the city agencies to design components into the project, not meant to just mitigate the traffic that we were bringing to the site, but rather to bring needed benefits to the neighborhood for cars, buses, pedestrians, bicyclists. Next slide. Sustainability. Skanska considers itself, and I think is, a worldwide leader in sustainable construction and development. We've continued to be cutting edge in the design of these buildings and the entirety of the site. You see some of the statistics here. In particular, we're looking forward to the Passive House standard for that R1 building. It's going to be a piece of art and a piece of science when we're done with it, as well as what we're doing with the commercial buildings in terms of electrification. Next slide, please. The site is also bringing some significant financial benefits with our linkage and jobs creation. Perhaps the most significant nowadays is the residential, the apartments that we're bringing. These apartments are specifically designed for the workers in the LMA. They don't need cars to commute. They finally will have a place close to these 70,000 employees, close to where they work. And I just want to make sure, because Sarah said 20, she meant 20%. 20% of this building will be affordable, so 45 units. So with that, I will open it back up to comments, questions, and hopefully.
Okay. Great. So this is a public hearing, so we're now going to take public testimony. So if you'd like to testify in person, please step up to the podium and announce your name, affiliation, and your position on the proposed project when you are called to speak. If you are on Zoom and would like to testify, please raise your virtual hand. Minor.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, Madam Secretary, Director Chen. My name is Mina Perez, and it is with pleasure I stand before you on behalf of thousands of union carpenters in support of the proponent. Simmons College is a great institution in the city of Boston. Carpenters Union, we consider you a friend. It's nice to see you working with another friend, Skanska. I had the pleasure of attending several of the public meetings, and it was a long and arduous process, so kudos to you for hanging in there. And yet, you did manage to accommodate most of the ask from the community. It's amazing. You even reduced the charter even more, which was the #1 point of contention at the meetings. So thank you again. And to conclude, I'd like to take a second to thank the mayor of Boston for allowing the community to be part of the process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, members of the board, Madam Chair, Madam Secretary, Director Shen. My name is Mark Delasio. I'm a business agent for Carpenters Local 327 in Boston. I represent a lot of hardworking men and women who live and work in the city, and we just want to be on the record as being in full support of this project as well. Kudos to Skanska and Simmons College for their continued commitment on hiring responsible contractors on all their projects. Thank you.
Good evening, Director Shen, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Secretary Polimis. My name is Tom Yardley. I'm Vice President of Area Planning and Development for the Longwood Collective, formerly Masco, here to speak in support of the project and also to request to work with the planning department some more on some technical matters that we raised in our comment letter on April 1st. For those of you not familiar, we're a nonprofit organization representing 22 members in the Longwood medical and academic area, including several of the nation's top medical institutions, Harvard Medical School, and the colleges of the Fenway, including Simmons University. We're here to express our support on behalf of Longwood Collective and our members who are the abutting institutions, and also to express our appreciation for the thorough public process that has helped shape this significant development in Boston's anchor district. And also Skanska has been extremely diligent about reaching out to all the abutters, and I think it's produced a very thoughtful project that really is going to transform this gateway into the Longwood medical area. I won't list all the benefits, but redefining the gateway, providing housing in the heart of the district, which is definitely needed. Surprisingly, we still need research space. I know there's a glut of it, but there's very little within a walking distance of all the hospitals, and that's what makes this site so unique and valuable. The open space is also desperately needed, and this will be beautifully programmed, and we're available to help with the programming. We run our own outside placemaking spaces. The reimagining of Brookline Avenue is really significant as well. As Russ said, it's almost 1,000 feet of very uncomfortable frontage. So I think final points are more that we just want to make sure that details are like the new potential for new traffic signal equipment at Short Street Extension and the Riverway are paid attention to. Some details around the mid-block street and Brookline Avenue, and other elements to do with the transportation improvements and critical intersections. And we have some of that expertise in-house, so we would welcome the opportunity to work during the design review and as the TAPA agreements are made to make sure that those things are done to maximize safety and benefits for everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm sorry I went over.
Thank you. Appreciate your coming.
Good evening again, Madam Chair, Director Shen, members of the board. Tom Ward, I live in the city. I've worked thousands of hours in the LMA, all sorts of hours. At the Brigham, Harvard Med, Children's Hospital twice, every hour of the day. And the man from Skanska is right. You got to have your head on a swivel down there. And I'm glad these people are here. And thank you to your team. And we look forward to working on the project. I rise in favor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Madam Secretary, and board members. I'm a resident of Boston. I've lived in the city. I'm nervous. I don't usually do this. I apologize. So I've lived in the city since '97. My wife and I, we live in West Roxbury. My mother-in-law lives in Brookline, just across the Muddy River from where the site is going to be. We are members of the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. My son went to high school at Boston Latin. We walk our dog at Jamaica Plain around the pond. We are in the Emerald Necklace many times. I work in the city. I drive sometimes along the way. And I have to tell you, I cannot be more in support of this project. This is what the city needs, really sustainable design, housing for our people, to help lower our taxes. My taxes have gone up like a lot of residents in the city. Anything that we can do to foster development like this is really appreciated. I appreciate everything that this team has done. I want to add my wife graduated with a master's from Simmons, and my niece is graduating this year with her master's from Simmons. So I appreciate everything that's going on, and I really look forward to this project being built. I know it's going to improve the city and the Longwood medical area. So thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate that. Do we have anything online? Yeah.
We do. Kelly Brilliant, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is Kelly Brilliant. I'm the Executive Director of the Fenway Alliance. We are the 22 cultural and academic institutions in the Fenway. We vigorously support this project for several reasons, one of which, one of our members, Simmons University, it enables them to not just survive, but to thrive and continue their very laudable mission of creating young women leaders who go on and become adult women leaders, and we support that. We also support their one campus, one Simmons campus idea that allows them to pull their students closer into the campus and to have that connectivity experience. We are in support of the very important affordable housing, 20% affordable housing in Boston, and the 227 new housing units, as the gentleman spoke about just now. And we appreciate Skanska working closely with our other member, Windsor School, on some of the traffic issues and transportation issues of the project. And we like the solutions that have arisen from that part of the project. We urge Skanska to continue working with Simmons to make sure, continue working with Windsor, excuse me, to make sure none of their drop-offs or pickups are impeded by this project, but we like what we see thus far. We're in support of the cultural space, and we would ask Skanska to think about, turning to the Fenway Alliance. We are one of the premier cultural producers in the city for any assistance there. And last but not least is the $7 million to parks and recreation, and of which $1 million went to a very important sunshine study for all shadows on parkways, which we totally support. So we want to thank the whole team for this and congratulate for the good work they've done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Tim Horn, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you very much. Good evening. My name is Tim Horn. I'm the president of Fenway Civic Association. I served on the institutional master plan for Simmons when one Simmons idea was first produced, and I stood before you and I supported that. I completely support what we're trying to do, but at the end of the day, I am just really frustrated and disappointed that we couldn't get the shadows off the park. For me, that's just, it's a huge thing. It's not gonna change the world, but I would say $7 million over 98 years is $70,000 a year. And anybody that knows anything about trees or the stone dust, and all the stuff that we have to do in the Back Bay fence, it's really not very much money. I just want to make that point. I support Simmons. I support this whole idea way before I was a member of this IAG. But at the end of the day, I feel like we were let down. The community was let down by the fact that we could not negate the shadows on the park. And I just want to make that point and put it out there. I wish Simmons the greatest of success, and I really want this project also to be a success, but I'm just really frustrated with those shadows. And I think there was a way for us to make it better without having those shadows in effect. Thank you very much for your time. I'm sorry to be the only downer of the night. Thank you very much.
No, that's okay.
Thank you, Tim. David Reed, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you so much. My name is David Reed. In full disclosure, I work at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. We're very much in support of this project. It does provide housing for many of our healthcare workers, and it also transforms what has been described and is a gated community in the Longwood medical area to be open park space. And it really helps connect the Longwood medical area with Fenway and Kenmore Square. So we're very excited for it to be started. And I come into the LMA 5 days a week and also go by the Simmons dorms, which are coming out great. So this is really kind of one of the better projects I've seen done in Boston. So very much in support. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Brian Mui, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Brianne White. I work in the Longwood area, and I think that the addition of the open space and the retail space will make it really nice. Some of the areas around Longwood are a little creepy, so it'll be nice to have the addition. So thank you for the time.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Kate Hess Jimenez, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to speak and for the presentation today. I'm Kate Hess Jimenez. I come to the LMA often for research and also for appointments. Currently, it's quite the nightmare to get into. I always have to drive, which I hate having to do, and I immediately want to leave as soon as I'm done with the appointment. This project changes that. It's a total game changer, and I'm really here to express my utmost support for that. The open space and playgrounds is great for dumping my kids into after they've been driving me nuts and an appointment the whole time. The biking and pedestrian accessibility is a fantastic alternative to having to drive there. And the retail and commercial and dining opportunities are so inviting and give you a reason to want to stay in this area. It's much needed right now. I think someone else said it feels kind of creepy, and that's so true. So I love this. Thanks so much for the work and for everyone else who is advocating for this design. One last thing that I will push for is in the plantings. I would love to see more native and diverse species of plants and trees to be added here as part of this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Stephanie Samph, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to speak in support of this project. I am a psychologist at one of the major Boston hospitals and also a mom of 2 young kids. So I'm in the Longwood medical area often for work and for appointments, and really appreciate the public open space as a welcome addition. The children's playground as well. I'm really kind of looking forward to the idea of that. And the retail options and opportunities just to make it more inviting to be able to kind of be there during lunch times, when waiting for appointments for my kids. So definitely very excited about this project and fully in support of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen Geromini, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is Karen Geromini, Chief Operating Officer at the Windsor School. The Windsor School, a nonprofit organization, has owned and operated its campus adjacent to the Phase 1 project site for over 100 years, where we educate 475 young women in grades 5 through 12 to become tomorrow's innovators and leaders. Approximately 24% of our students are Boston residents, and approximately 35% of these Boston students receive financial aid. Windsor also employs approximately 150 employees, many of whom are Boston residents, who travel to campus each day. We have a long-term commitment to the city of Boston and to the Longwood neighborhood. Windsor appreciates the opportunity to participate in this process and to engage with city agencies and the Skanska project team as this project proposal continues to evolve. The Windsor campus abuts the project site, and running between Pilgrim Road and Brookline Ave currently is the former Short Street, a discontinued city street that is owned by each of Windsor and Simmons. This is a key connector element, and we have worked hard with Skanska, other area stakeholders, and city officials to build consensus on a design that optimizes connectivity while ensuring pedestrian safety. Through a very long process, we have reached agreement with Skanska and the city that the initially proposed two-way bike path will create pedestrian safety issues and should be replaced with a pedestrian-focused solution that more closely aligns with existing conditions, Windsor's operational needs, and the safety of workers, visitors, and residents in the Longwood community. We believe this revised design will represent a meaningful improvement for the area and will enhance safety for the many workers, visitors, and Windsor students who travel through this corridor each day. The revised design includes a 10-foot wide concrete sidewalk pathway that will terminate at a Pilgrim Road pedestrian crosswalk adjacent to the project site. It is important that this pathway not be signed or designated as a bicycle path and not invite bicycle traffic into what is already a challenging intersection that needs to accommodate Windsor pickup and drop-off activities multiple times during each day. We note that there are well-marked bicycle paths on city streets in the area for bikers to use, and that the Skanska project will enhance those as part of its mitigation program. We look forward to continuing to work with city agencies, Skanska, and the other stakeholders to finalize the location and design of this pedestrian path, and to ensure that after its construction by Skanska, a path incorporates all feasible safety measures. Windsor recognizes that the construction of the Longwood Place project is critical to the long-term future of Simmons University. We also recognize that Skanska.
Thank you, Karen. I'm so sorry. I just have to stick to the 2 minutes, but appreciate your participation and your support and concerns are noted. Thank you.
Okay.
Dolores Bogdanian, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you. Yes, good evening. My name is Dolores Bogdanian. I live at Town Park Drive in Boston, and I'm here as a representative of the Audubon Circle Neighborhood Association, and here in objection to this project. And actually, even though I might be in the minority tonight, I am not considering those who voiced their objection to this project when the PDA plan was proposed to the Zoning Commission. One member of the commission noted at the time that it had gotten more letters in objection to this project than any it had received in his memory. So I do not think the BPDA has done right by you or the city by recommending your approval of this project. The proposed office and lab space is not needed. There is no housing component in this phase 1. And when and if there ever is need for lab or office space in this area, there are already 3 projects already constructed or approved right here in the Fenway, less than a half a mile away from this site, that will accommodate those tenants. It is therefore utterly premature to approve this project. The wind studies show that areas in and around the site, including this much touted open space, will be uncomfortable for walking, never mind sitting or standing. The traffic study for a project anticipating over 20,000 vehicle trips a day reports that little or no changes to level of service at the already congested intersection study the report. There will be no changes or little, which is not credible. In addition to which, the proponent was not obliged to consider Fenway Park traffic even during peak evening travel times, and even though Fenway Park is no longer hosting only 81 home games, but has over a dozen or more concerts each summer, soccer games, football games, hockey games, and other sporting events throughout the year. The glare that will result from the buildings apparently is not of concern to the proponent or BPDA because people can look away. This is what it says in the report. This when driving in the LMA on busy roads with many cars, people, bikes, and scooters. This is not what you do. I'm sorry that I've run out of time. I suggest that you please read the public comments in objection to this project and why there are those objections. And you should, if you haven't read them, please postpone your decision or.
Thank you, Dolores. Appreciate your participation.
I didn't cut her off.
Okay.
Jared Dodge, you can unmute yourself.
Good evening. My name is Jared Dodge. I've been a Boston resident since 2017, for 7 years of which as a Fenway area resident living on Queensbury Street. I've been closely following this project since the PDA review a few years back. I want to be clear that before making the following brief statement about my support of the project, that the views I express are shared by many friends and colleagues of mine living in the immediate area. That's to me really important. With that out of the way, I want to first thank and applaud the development team's consideration for accommodating and compromising as they move the project forward. Everything I've seen and heard really points to diligent research being done on the project that's explored many angles and potential impact on the community. That said, I understand the certain concerns from the select few area residents remain, particularly with respect to the additional shadows being cast on the park post-construction. I do understand these concerns, but respectfully, I do see things differently. I frequently get the chance to enjoy the nature of Rambler Park, and I can attest that the park and its forestation are unquestionably thriving. I can't claim to be an environmentalist or an ecologist, of course, but I absolutely believe the park will continue thriving in the years and decades after the project is completed. Research supports this. The marginal amount of additional shade seems negligible to the health of the park's ecosystem. Moving beyond the shade issue, pleased to see that the proposed modern architecture and public space of the project portends The neighborhood needs it. It needs it to keep pace with other areas of the city, frankly. But importantly, I see this project as additive to Fenway's identity and not one that unjustly reforms it. I still want Fenway to be Fenway, of course. I don't want it to be Seaport. I don't want it to be downtown or any other area of the city. That identity is critical. Additional build out, well thought out build out, of course, will only contribute to making Fenway a choice place to live, work, and visit over the long term. In conclusion, the benefits of this project far outweigh any costs. I reiterate support for this project, unequivocal support for this project. I'm excited to see it come to life as an enhancer of an already great place. I'll stop there. Thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Thanks, Jared.
Timothy Nay, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Director Chen, and Secretary Polimis for the opportunity to speak. I am a member of the IAG, and I've followed this project for the last 5 years. I want to give a shout out to Russ DiMartino and his great team of developers and the multiple architects that are on this stellar project. I do want to say that we've had the opportunity as part of an oral history of the Fenway neighborhood, the Fenway Memory Project, to use this particular project as a case study with an urban planning class at Northeastern. And they did, obviously, I don't have to speak anymore about shadows, but did find that as the overwhelming concern and objection among the residents of the Fenway to the project. I think a lot of it had to do with the non-adherence to the 2003 BRA standard known as the LMA interim guidelines as far as having no more than 1 hour of shadow per day. To the proponents' credit, the $1 million toward coming up with a shadow study or sunlight study that's being referred to, should help us get a more comprehensive city policy in terms of the shadows around the parkland. On the positive side, I want to thank Skanska for including the interior community space, also to the BRA or the planning department staff, and making sure that the acoustics of that will be good. And the playground is a much, much needed asset, not only for the patients and families at the hospitals, but for residents of the Fenway. So with that, I support the project.
Thank you. Anita DeRuvo, you can unmute yourself. Anita, it looks like you've unmuted, but we're unable to hear you. Can you see if your microphone is active?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, this is Nathan DeRuvo. I'm just lived here about 20 years. I'm in support of this project. I'm a type 1 diabetic and make use of the Joslin Center and Fenway Health. And I actually cycle to all of my doctor's appointments and look forward to the added bike infrastructure in this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Pam Beal, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you, and good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Director Shen, and Secretary Polhemus. My name is Pam Beal, and I'm here in my capacity as president of the Kenmore Association to indicate our support for this project. Specifically, we believe that the addition of the 227 new housing units, 2 acres of publicly accessible open space, and the 9,000 square foot community space, all delivered in the initial phase, along with the transportation improvement proposed, are an incredible opportunity for this community, and we appreciate the opportunity to offer our support this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Is there anybody else who would like to testify about this project, either in the room or on Zoom? If you're on Zoom, please raise your virtual hand. Madam Chair, there are no further hands.
All right, thank you. And thank you to everyone who participated, whether you're in support or you have concerns. We really appreciate everybody's participation, tonight, but also throughout the whole entire process. So I do want to confirm that the board has received all of the letters and the comments related to this. We received that in our preparation packages and have had ample time to review them as we consider our each individual vote tonight. So Just put that there. Questions or comments from the board?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to clarify the record earlier when I said that 4236 Washington Street was my favorite project of the night. It's actually this one,
You have
and I
two
think
favorites.
the tremendous credit to the team, who I know has worked extraordinarily well. And I know I have yet to see. Well, maybe the Allendale Farm was the only unanimously supported project in my 2+ years now on this board, but. I know not everyone has some people have concerns, but I do appreciate a real effort that's been made to address those and to make it a better project, and I think you have done that. First of all, it looks great. A gentleman testified who receives treatment at the Joslin Diabetes Center, which of course will be the Dana-Farber Cancer Hospital, the one of its kind. I mean, that whole 2 blocks of Brookline Avenue, 5 years from now, it's going to be, among the iconic addresses in Boston. So I'm really excited to see this happening, the open space, the playground. All of us Bostonians have had our best days and our toughest days in the Longwood medical area. I was directly across the street in the same room with the birth of my 2 daughters, the 2 happiest days of my life, looking at that very area thinking, why haven't we done anything with this yet? So this is great. I've also been, as I know, on very, very difficult days in that area. To sort of have some open space for folks, I think is just worth the concerns. I would put my record on open space and environmental initiatives up against anyone in this building. And certainly take to heart concerns about the shadow law. I think you've mitigated that as best that you can, some of the concerns that have been raised, and I also don't think that that should be used as a tool to stop what otherwise is an important, really, really important piece. All to say, I'm proud to support this. I do, if you could talk briefly about some of the lab space, and just given the fact that we've all read articles in the Globe and other things about the high vacancy rate in labs, I think the answer is you are in such close proximity to some of the world's finest institutions of research, but can you talk a little bit about how you'll address that as this gets built out?
Yeah, I mean, the headline is what you said. We've long put our thesis on this site that it works different than the vast majority of other lab buildings in the entire Boston metro, in that it's the proximity to these fine research hospitals that really makes it a unique location. So we are very confident that will continue to drive the demand for this area. That being said, we are not naive to the realities of where the market stands right now. But Boston is definitively the world leader in life science lab, and it's going to stay that way. What we have right now is, quite honestly, a real estate cyclical issue. Too many people went too quickly into the market, but it is still a strong lab market. Right now, we track approximately 2 million square feet of annual demand ongoing, somewhere around 16 million of built space or converted space that is sitting vacant. So if it stays at 2 million, theoretically, it would take 8 years to be completely gone. We put stasis more at 5 years, but we anticipate that demand actually increasing as time goes on. So we think it's a short-term business issue that hurts the city of Boston. It doesn't feel good, but it is not a long-term problem. There's a timing difference for us that protects us a little bit. Not only do we have 7 more months before we can even access the site, it's going to take 5 years to build. So we are not at all concerned that demand for life science that would fill this space has evaporated. We would like it to be stronger now so that we have tenants that I can tell you we have a home for them already. I don't have that yet. But from a business perspective, I'm not concerned, and I don't think this board should be concerned that life science is still going to stay a strong component of our city and is going to be successful at this site.
Appreciate that. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Through the chair, just to start off with Matt's last comment, as far as the lab space area, me being in construction work for 26 years plus, I would just ask, would this be built without an anchor tenant? If with the timing of everything you're going through, and then
no, it's a phenomenal question, and I'll answer it by saying Skanska is one of the few developers that has in fact gone speculative on large-scale projects. I would tell you the market realities right now put me in a position that I can't affirmatively say we would do that. What I can tell you is that we are already in conversations, not only with multiple hospital users in the LMA that have expressed a desire to be at this location, but that we feel the market strengthening and growing. And so we're having enough conversations that, my discussions with Sweden are, don't worry, it's coming. But right now, I can't say that we would go speculatively.
And I would probably echo a lot of things that a lot of people that are in support have said. So I'll just get to one quick point that I heard, possibly two. Well, first, I'll thank the planning board and also thank Skanska and Simmons for all the work you've done leading up to here, and also Laura from Simmons. Beautiful work at the dormitory. If you knew how many countless young men and women that have actually, most of the time I'm talking about future work. Right now, I get the chance to talk about a job in progress where young men and women are starting their career in the trade. So thank you both for that. And my last point was Longwood Medical Area. The first examples you started to give to talk about just how important it is to the city, that was spot on. And not just to the city, to the world. That was spot on. So I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you. I agree. I appreciate the commentary on the Living and Learning Center. My colleague Brian Northrup, who runs our construction group, doesn't get to be in these type of meetings and doesn't hear those kind of kudos, but the project that we have with Simmons has been a phenomenal experience, and the purpose that the workers have expressed that they feel in constructing the Living and Learning Center has made it, quite honestly, one of the best jobs I've ever been associated with.
I grew up on the doorstep, so it means a lot to me. So thank you. Thank you all.
Yeah, I'll just add kudos. I think the process has yielded a better product over time, and so congratulations on that. I have a slightly tangential comment, I guess, which is just that when we build these mostly high market, I'm a total fan of adding all the residential units, especially the 20% affordable. I think that's phenomenal. When we then place retail, we need to keep in mind that there is a component of low income, there are low income residents living in these spaces. And this is a general comment I'm making for these types of projects, because often they get built out with very high end retail. That's really appealing to that market audience and really ignoring the affordable community that's, so intentionally become part of this. And so, for all the work that goes into placing those affordable units, it's a plea to be thoughtful with that retail component, because I can easily picture those spaces being filled with very high-end amenities. And so, anyway.
We'll definitely keep that in mind. I was prepared to talk about the consultant that we have on board already, a woman named Ann Earhart with Everstreet Retail. And we have already come up with a retail strategy that includes local and women and minority-owned businesses being
Excellent.
a component to it. I will tell you, largely, there is food and beverage demand already, so I don't necessarily think F&B is what you're talking about, as opposed to high-end luxury retail goods. So it's not our expectation, but we will keep that in mind as we move forward with the leasing.
Okay, great. Thanks. And look, I wouldn't be doing my job as the chair if I didn't acknowledge and address the concerns around shadow. And I want to make sure that we are on the record, both as an agency and as the developer, on kind of what the shadow situation is. So, can you talk a little bit about the shadow, the concerns, the timeline?
I can. I asked one of my colleagues to be prepared to discuss actual time of shadows and coming on and entering the park. I don't want to steal Mike's thunder, but at a high level, the way the shadow has been portrayed oftentimes is like the buildings are gonna produce shadow that sits on the park all day long and destroys trees. We don't feel that way. We've done a lot of work with ecologists to, this was back in the PDA timeframe, make sure we felt comfortable that we weren't in fact damaging the park. But the thing to remember is that shadows that are cast by, buildings move with the movement of the sun through the horizon. And so a lot of our studies focus and a lot of the way that we talk about the way we reduce shadows through the architecture takes into account how those shadows enter the park, how they leave the park in the mornings, they're not there all day long, and then how they re-enter in another part of the park and leave in the evenings in those other parts. And so that's, I think, what we're prepared to present to you and show you what that reduction between PDA to now really looks like.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Rojas. My name is Mike Kaliva. I'm a developer with Skanska. We have a slide in the appendix. If you could go to the next one, please. This is probably the best way to talk about the progression of shadow. So shadow can be measured in a number of ways. In our most recent public filing, we were asked to look at shadow at 4 critical dates, the solstices and the equinoxes, and look at shadows every 15 minutes and compare that to the PDA. So that's what you see on the screen today as a summary of that. So on March 21st, there is 3.5 hours of shadow on the Riverway side in the morning. Then there's 6 hours of no shadow. Then there's 2 hours of shadow on the Fenway side. So we have the Riverway side to the west and the Fenway side to the north for reference. On June 21st, there's 2 hours and 45 minutes of shadow on the Riverway side in the morning, and then around 10 hours of no shadow, and then an hour and 15 minutes of shadow on the Fenway side in the evening. Sun is out very late that time of year, so nice 10-hour day of no shadow. September 21st, there's 3.5 hours of shadow on the Riverway side in the morning, and then 6 hours of no shadow, and then 2 hours of shadow on the Fenway side in the afternoon. December 21st, 4 hours and 15 minutes of shadow on the Riverway side in the morning, 15 minutes of no shadow, and then 3 hours of shadow on the Fenway side. And then lastly, I would just add that these times represent any point in time when there is even a square foot of shadow on the park. So this isn't specifying the square footage. This is simply saying at that moment in time, there's a square foot of shadow. And the park is obviously very large and the shadow is moving across of it.
Do you have like just a general? I mean, are we talking a little sliver, or are we talking a bigger shadow? Just some kind of.
Absolutely. If we go to the slide before, this shows in square footages at certain times. The first column shows the PDA shadow massing, and that is at the 4 key dates and then the key times that under the planning department guidelines we look at. And then the second column shows the proposed project massing and those square footages. So as you can see on the screen at those times, the high is 137,000 square feet, the low is 0. And then it shows our reduction in the third column and a % reduction.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly.
I appreciate that. And then from an agency planning or development kind of, what did we do? How do we feel, about the shadow? How, it's always a trade-off, right? But just kind of speak to our, or your, whatever.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Seth Reisman with Urban Design. Shadows cast on parks and the Emerald Necklace specifically is, of course, something that the planning department does not take lightly. This has been a very long process from the PDA, and from the start, we worked with the developer and the community to take a look at the proposal. And during the PDA process, the overall size of the proposal came down significantly, and the buildings were arranged in such a way as to minimize shadows on the park. And that had to do very much with the orientation of the buildings, how they sat on the site, and it's a challenge because there is a park that sort of wraps around, right, 3 sides or 2 sides of this development site. There was a commitment made at the time of PDA approval, which essentially approved the overall envelope, right, and total amount of shadow that could possibly be cast. There was a commitment made that during the ADB process, the city would work with the development team to further reduce that shadow. And when the developer came back to us with this proposed project, We worked with them extensively to make sure that the moves that they had made were reinforcing reducing shadow within the bounds of the PDA, within the sort of set of rules that we created to guide, right, the future development, to sort of balance the shadows, to create open space on the site, to create the wonderful retail environment that we see on the ground floor and the streets that we were looking for the project. And so through that shaping of the buildings, right, they were able to reduce the shadow. We wanted to make sure that that was really the best outcome. So when we released a request for supplemental information, we asked for a number of studies to sort of prove that. So these additional shadow studies that really sought to quantify and not just qualify the shadows so that we could understand how they moved across the site, how the buildings worked, right? Even the faceting, right, of the buildings at the top helped to reduce the shadows. And that's what proved that the overall 7% reduction came out of that. We had them do additional studies to look at other massings within the rules set by the PDA to see if in one case we asked for them to lower the height of the buildings by 1 floor. They did grow wider in that case to keep the same amount of floor area. And what we found actually was that the shadows got more increased rather than decreased because lower, wider buildings, the shadows move a little bit more slowly across than taller, thinner buildings. And so it was actually a little counterintuitive. We thought that we would be reducing the shadows when we reduced the height, but then we realized that because of the width and because the buildings were placed in such a way that they were already sort of standing in each other's shadows, that when they got wider, they introduced more shadow onto the park. So we feel that this is, within the rules of the PDA, the best outcome.
Okay, thank you, thank you. And the last, it's not really a question, but the community space, I know that Councilor Durkin mentioned that there are some still open items with that, so we just ask that you keep on keeping on.
We've been very,
with trying
very
to,
active and communicated with her and basically know that she's going to be deeply involved in how we end up programming that.
Have no doubt. Okay, so are there any further questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, motion passes. Thank you very much and good luck. Okay. Let's see. Somebody keep me honest, which one? Okay. Just give everybody a moment to
Number 20.
exit 20, yeah. Right. You guys are such quiet exiters. Item number 20, request authorization to issue a director's determination pursuant to Article 80B Large Project Review of the Zoning Code in connection with the proposed notice of project change for the Drexel Village project located at 175 Tremont Street and to take all related actions. Nick.
Thank you and good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Secretary Polhemus, and Director Shen. I'm here before you this evening to present the notice of project change for Drexel Village. The project, located in Roxbury, was previously approved in 2025 as 3 buildings with a mix of 270 condo and rental units with high levels of affordability, ground floor retail uses, generous new landscaping, and the rehabilitation of the St. Catherine Drexel Parish Church. The 2026 NPC contemplates a shift from a mix of condo and rental units to all rental, and importantly, will make all units affordable. The NPC also includes the elimination of underground parking, with some parking being maintained as surface parking on the site. No other changes are proposed with this NPC. This NPC was taken through an expedited NPC process, and we did host 1 public meeting at the request of Councilor Culpepper. The project also presented to the Roxbury Strategic Master Plan Oversight Committee. There's no presentation for this project. However, the project team is here to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments from the board? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Thanks, Nick. Oh, again. Item number 21, request authorization to issue a certification of approval pursuant to Article 80E Small Project Review of the Zoning Code for the proposed adaptive reuse and construction of a two-story addition to the former South Boston Savings Bank building to be used as the new South Boston division of the Boston Municipal Court located at 460 West Broadway, and enter into a community benefits agreement and to take all related actions. Nick?
Thank you again, Madam
We're
Chair.
quiet exiting, but they're loud in the hallway. I don't know. You may just give them a little, might want to take the party elsewhere. But, okay, Nick, thank you.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. 460 West Broadway, located in South Boston, is
get
proposed as a new courthouse for South Boston, preserving the existing bank facade for new civic use. Next slide, please. The existing South Boston Courthouse building, located nearby on East Broadway, is aging, and the Division of Capital Asset Management and Maintenance is currently undergoing a search for a new location. This project, central to South Boston, maintains key access for the neighborhood to courthouse services and will provide a new accessible building. The project also includes public realm improvements around the site and the relocation of the existing Blue Bike station. I'll now turn to Ford to take you through the planning context. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next slide, please. Good evening, Chair Rojas, Secretary Polimas, members of the board, and Director Shen. My name is again Ford Del Vecchio, and I'm filling in for Jason McDonald, the planning reviewer team planner assigned to this project, who is currently celebrating his wedding. So congrats to him. The proposed project is located in the multifamily residential local shopping zoning subdistrict within the South Boston neighborhood governed by Article 68 of the zoning code. The site is located on a corridor composed of commercial uses along the ground level and residential and upper levels. Outside the corridor are mostly residential buildings. The proposed uses of the courthouse and office space are forbidden uses within this site. The courthouse use would be to serve the locally needed South Boston courthouse, which presently exists in the immediate vicinity of this proposed site in the same zoning subdistrict. The proposed project will allow the existing courthouse to move to the new location, while the offices will accommodate the courthouse as related services. Next slide, please. The proposed project seeks zoning relief for forbidden use, excessive height, excessive floor area, insufficient yard depths, and insufficient off-street parking. While taking into consideration the assembled parcel size, the existing building which would partially remain, and surrounding context, staff helped shape the proposed design to ensure that building dimension is contextually appropriate by aligning the neighboring residences. Likewise, the proposed parking count and design is aligned with contemporary best practices and Boston Transportation Department policy. Thank you, and I will turn over to my colleague Eric Boatwright from the urban design team to talk about the design of the project in more detail.
Thanks.
Good evening again. Next slide, please. The landscape design will enhance the public realm by providing short-term bicycle parking, the relocation of existing Blue Bike station, and an improved accessible route into the building. New street trees and generous planting areas along the Broadway facade enliven the building entry and support the project's stormwater management strategy. Screen plantings along the west side of the building will soften the edge of the adjacent parking lot and mitigate the perceived scale of the addition while reinforcing the historic building's classical character. Along Athens Street at the rear of the site, a widened sidewalk and reduced curb cut will further improve pedestrian circulation and safety, contributing to a more accessible and cohesive streetscape. Next, please. The existing pedimented brick building with limestone columns and cornice built in the mid-20th century in the classical revival style provides an impressive institutional and civic presence. The existing front facade and portions of the side facade will be retained and will remain prominent, while the proposed addition sits back to provide a clear distinction between old and new. The material, fenestration, banding, and cornice of the addition reference the classical attributes of the existing building. Design development will provide an opportunity to refine the addition to provide a more nuanced distinction between the existing building and the proposed addition. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As an environmentalist, I love adaptive reuse. So to use an old bank, which looks like a court, as a new court facade, I mean, great. What a smart thing. And I'm sorry, you may have said this. I was reading as I was listening. The existing courthouse, the current courthouse will eventually become.
Eventually, so DCAM will be running a process on finding the new courthouse and then presumably putting it up for some other use. They have not indicated what they intend to do with the existing courthouse at this time.
Okay, so it could be a state agency, it could be something, it could be sold, but it's the state's.
Yeah, likely it will be
The
put out
state's
to
job, not
RFP.
ours. Okay, no, doesn't make it look sharp. Appreciate it.
All right.
work, guys.
Any additional questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.
All right, so item number 24, I need a motion to pay our bills.
I move that we pay our bills.
Second that movement.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Please pay the bills. And finally, item number 25, Director's Update. Director Shen, the floor is yours.
Members of the board, I'd like to just start by celebrating the adoption of the Harvard ERC District and Greenway Plan. This is a culmination of over 5 years of work of the staff working with Harvard University. And it's a direct response to the community feedback as mitigation for the approval of the first phase of the Harvard ERC that was approved in 2022. The final plan recommends continuing to transform the area into an innovative research district that is seamlessly integrated with the existing neighborhood fabric, with the focus of adding housing, transportation, and green space. As you heard from the university, they're actually decided not to actually continue this process or codify this process into a PDA master plan at this moment. But we expect that when the time is right, that they will bring this forward and actually codify the plan further into development rights. I want to thank the community, the university, and the advisory group for collaborating with our staff and working to balance the different ideas and priorities and turn it into a cohesive framework for the future of this area. The second part I want to talk about is the development projects that were approved. I think in this most recent, the public hearing for the Article 80B approval for Longwood Place is a little unusual given the kinds of projects that we've been approving in the last few meetings. It's the first mixed-use project with a significant lab component. I think it's very good news that Skanska has decided to advance this project so that they're prepared when the market turns to be ready to actually invest in additional infrastructure for the growth of the LMA. He described obviously that there is demand that we expect to return in this area. And obviously this is an economic engine for the city. And the continued investment in this area is really critical. You heard about the extensive public realm improvements that this project will bring. I think one of the things that I took away during the most recent review of the project, working with the Parks Department, that there was an excessive focus on shadows without really talking about the additional green space that's been created. So on the balance, when we were working with the Parks Department and Brian Sweat, the Chief of Environment, we were emphasizing making sure that the new open space was not compromised just because we were trying to minimize the shadow impact on existing parks. The other thing, of course, is that it's actually a culmination of almost a decade work of partnership. Usually when we talk about P3s, public-private partnerships, in this particular case, it's really a different kind of P3, which is an institutional and a private developer partnership that is actually making sure that not only is a university becoming more competitive with a new facility, but also making sure that the larger medical and academic area is receiving new investment. The other three projects that were approved tonight, two of them are actually an example of the bearing fruit from our rezoning process. So in Charlestown and in Hyde Park, these are projects that are actually now approved without zoning variance. They're compliant with the new zoning that was adopted. So I hope that in the near future, we'll continue to see more of these kinds of projects as our rezoning work throughout the neighborhood is bearing fruit. In total, there were 495 new residential units approved, of which 98 will be income restricted. Collectively, these 4 projects will be at least $440 million worth of investment and over 1.7 million square feet of development. And of course, these projects will put approximately 1,500 tradespeople to work and create almost 2,800 indirect jobs. So that concludes my report, and thank you again for your service.
Thank you very much. All right, so that's it. I need a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next month.
Great.